My guy, Dr. Umar, happy to have you back, my man.
Peace and Pan-Africanism, good brother. Glad to be back with you live from Philadelphia. Happy summertime.
Hey, man, happy to have you back. What you been up to, man?
Yes, sir. Glad to be back. The biggest thing right now, we're trying to get the floors covered up at FDMG Academy. That's the last major thing we have to do before we can apply for our certificate of occupancy from the city of Wilmington, man. So right now, I have an elder who's willing to get this job done. So I'm going to keep in communication with him, get him out to Delaware so we can go ahead and get these floors covered up. Once those floors are covered up, we are applying for our certificate of occupancy, brother. So we 99% done. We just got to get the floors covered up and there we go.
Oh, man, congrats, man. I can't wait for that to happen, man. That's going to be a big deal, man. That's going to be huge.
Yeah, long time coming, long time coming. Hopefully all goes well with the inspection. We got to do the city inspection. We got to do the fire department inspection. Hopefully everything goes well with both of them. Then we can go ahead and do our grand opening for the community and then hopefully be in a position to decide when school will actually open for the children.
Yes, indeed, man. We got a lot to get into, man. There's a lot going on right now. We got a lot to tap into, man. I guess we could start with Carmelo Anthony. How you feel about him getting indicted for first-degree murder?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unfortunate, but I wasn't surprised. We understand how the criminal justice system operates in this country when it involves African people. Nothing is new under the sun, especially when you're dealing with white justice for black people in America. What I thought was very interesting about Carmelo Anthony's indictment that I believe we got yesterday is the fact that the day before, Art, in the same state, but in another county, there was a Caucasian student, an 18-year-old, who was indicted following the stabbing of a fellow 18-year-old student in his high school. I think it was the Belton High School in another county in Texas. This unfortunate incident occurred about 3 years ago. Him and a Latino student, they had beef. Allegedly, they had planned to meet up in the boys' bathroom and fight. And so some of the Latinos were there, and Casey Allison was there, and allegedly Jose Ramirez Jr., I believe he's a junior, rest in peace to him and condolences to his family. They allege that he swung first, punched Casey Allison in the face. Both of their groups that were with them, I think they got into a little bit of an altercation, and they said that Casey Allison pulled out a knife that he had brought to school that day and stabbed Jose 4 times. And he was not charged with murder. He was not charged with first degree murder. He wasn't charged with second degree murder. He wasn't charged with manslaughter. I believe he was charged with, was it reckless? I forget the exact charge that he got, but it wasn't murder and it wasn't manslaughter. And in fact, Art, he could have actually been sentenced to as little as 6 months to 2 years based on the charge that he was given. But the judge decided to add a weapons upgrade. In Texas, you can add something that's called a weapons upgrade, and I might not have the exact terminology correct there, but it's you can upgrade a charge to make it a more serious charge. And that's what this judge decided to do. Had the judge not done that, that young man could have been home in as little as 6 months to 2 years. But because of the serious weapons upgrade that the judge put on the case, he was sentenced the day before yesterday. He was sentenced to 2 years. And he does not, he was sentenced to 10 years. And he does not have to do the full 10 years, Art. He does not have to do the full 10 years. And the reason I'm bringing this case up with Casey Allison or Casey Allison is because it's very similar to the Carmelo Anthony case. Very similar. There are differences, but it's very similar. The fact that he brought a knife to a fight that he knew he would be having clearly shows premeditation. Clearly shows premeditation. I'm going into a fight. I'm bringing my knife. That's premeditation. And yet he still was not charged with murder, and he still was not charged with manslaughter. Very important. In my personal belief, Art, is the reason that the judge decided to add the serious weapons upgrade is because if Case and Allison would have went home, Art, with a sentence of 6 months to 2 years, there's no way that that could have no bearing on the outcome of Carmelo Anthony's case. I mean, look at it, Art. Monday, Case and Allison gets the 10-year sentence. Tuesday, Carmelo Anthony is indicted on first-degree murder. You can't tell me that there was not communication from the district attorneys involved. You can't tell me that there was not communication from the prosecutors involved. And both cases involve students who attended the same school. So I believe in order to justify whatever they're going to try to do to Carmelo Anthony, they had to give Case and Allen more time, Art. They could not let him go home after 6 months to 2 years and try to throw Carmelo Anthony under the bus. And what I find interesting, Art, is that Case and Allison's case is not getting the same amount of attention that Carmelo Anthony's case is getting. You don't see the same type of outcry. You know, his family isn't getting death threats. The judge was not being criticized and condemned for reducing bail because Case and Allison also had his bail reduced, Art. Nobody said nothing. But when the sister judge reduced bail for Carmelo Anthony, there was a national outcry. And I just think these two cases continue to show us, as African people in America, the double standard that exists at the heart of the American criminal injustice system. Now, looking at Carmelo Anthony, Art, the video was released on the school district's website. I have not seen the video. They are requiring that you register on the website if what I've been told is accurate. And then when you register, they will grant you access to view the video. But the video has not been made available for people to see it conveniently on YouTube or anywhere else. And my question, Art, if you're so convinced that Carmelo Anthony did not have a right to stand his ground, if you're so convinced that he engaged in premeditated first-degree murder, why not show the video for all to see? Why are you only putting it on a certain platform and making people register in order to watch this video? Why do you need the names of everyone who views this video, Art? To me, they have something to hide. Because as you know, Art, when black people commit crimes, they put it on the internet within weeks. It's out there. When we are guilty, Art, as you know, they put it out there for everybody to see it. Why are they being so careful and so particular about releasing the Carmelo Anthony quote unquote stabbing video? Why are you not showing it? Why is it not on YouTube? Why has it not been released to TMZ, to CNN, to C-SPAN, to Headline News, to USA Today, to the New York Times, to the LA Times? Why is it not being shown on these mainstream white-owned media platforms? And I believe it's because, number one, you either manipulated the video and people might be able to tell. I'm not saying they did it, Art. I'm saying that I'm suspicious of the possibility that the video may have been doctored, because why can it only be seen on your website? And you can't use the excuse that these were school-age children. And the reason you can't use that excuse, Art, is because you can redact their faces. You can redact their faces and still show the video. So you can't use that. You can redact their faces and still show the video. So I don't know why they're being so selective about who watches this video, but they're never that protective of a black child. And they're clearly not protecting Carmelo Anthony because they want to see the young man spend the rest of his life in jail. So I believe that that video, if it is shown in its entirety as it happened, will reveal some evidence that will lead a lot of people to believe that Carmelo Anthony, in fact, was justified in standing his ground and defending his life. And the one thing that came out since our last conversation, Art, was the incident took place on the bleachers. I didn't know the incident took place on the bleachers. So not only do you have Carmelo Anthony minding his business under this tent on the bleachers, these two racist white children, and again, I'm sorry for the loss of the son to the parents. I'm sorry he's gone, whether he's black, white, red, yellow, or brown. Nobody deserves to be predeceased by their children. I want to be clear about that. But with that being said, you have these two white boys, athletes, who weigh more than Carmelo does, who come to him. They have a history of bullying students, Art. That's another thing that has come out in this. They have a history of bullying students. This is not the first time. And I'm being told that they threw, and again, I didn't see the video, but people are telling me that they threw Carmelo Anthony or attempted to throw Carmelo Anthony down on the bleachers. Other people are arguing that the video does not show that. Some of these Sambos are arguing that there was no altercation at all. So I'm saying to that, Art, there may not have been a physical altercation, but if they came over and entered Carmelo Anthony's space, clearly that is a behavior of aggression. Two white kids approaching a black kid coming into his personal space. That is clearly an act of aggression, whether you touched him or not. And depending on what they said to Carmelo Anthony, Art, which will come out in the trial, depending on what they said to Carmelo Anthony, if they did not, in fact, put hands on him, what they said to him in the form of a threat could have alerted him to the potential for violence and harm, which again would have justified him standing his ground. So I'm saying here and now, whether they physically accosted him or not, he may have still been justified to stand his ground, given the fact that he was face to face with two racists who were larger than he was, who were threatening to remove him, and he felt he only had one opportunity to defend himself. So whether they touched him or not, I'm standing 10 toes down for Carmelo Anthony and his family. And how do you get a first degree indictment, Art? How does the grand jury come back with a first degree indictment? Carmelo for murder, first degree murder indictment. Carmelo Anthony didn't know he was going to get into a fight with them that day. He didn't know they was going to come over to him and try to remove him from the tent. He didn't know that them two racist white kids were going to try to throw him down on the bleachers. So how did he get first degree, Art? I don't even think he should have had second degree either. But first degree, when you got another kid a few counties over in the same state who took a knife to a fight that he knew he would be having and stabbed the kid 4 times inside of a school, Art, when he could have ran and told the teacher, ran and told a security guard, ran and told the principal. Instead of doing that, he stabs the kid, but he don't get a murder charge. He don't get a manslaughter charge. I think he gets criminally negligent homicide or something like that, Art. I can't remember the exact charge, but it wasn't first degree murder, second degree murder. It wasn't even manslaughter. So how do you explain that? And I do believe the stabbing took place in a school bathroom. I believe it did. Don't quote me on that. It could have been off campus, but I think it was on campus. Okay, so how does he only get this charge, which could have sent him home in 6 months to 2 years, and Carmelo Anthony out the gate for an incident that he could not have predicted would happen on that day is being charged with first degree murder? This is clearly a case of unfair justice.
Yeah, it's definitely unfair. I couldn't believe it when I first heard it, that he got indicted on first degree murder.
Because he can go to jail for the rest of his life, Art. Carmelo Anthony, God forbid, ancestors forbid, Divinities forbid, Carmelo Anthony can go to jail for the rest of his life. Art, how do you explain that when you have another kid who does not get charged with first degree murder, stabs the kid 4 times at a fight he knew he was going to be having and brought a knife for that purpose, but he don't get first degree murder charge in the same state? The double standard of black-white justice.
It don't make sense. It's racism.
Absolutely.
Terrible, man. Smokey Robinson. Have you heard about the 4 housekeepers that accused him of assault?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. You know, Smokey Robinson is one of my legends. He's probably my favorite Motown artist, not including Michael Jackson, obviously, but Michael was a little kid when Smokey was at the top of his game in Motown. And when I read this story about the lawsuit that Smokey Robinson is being charged, him and his wife Frances are being charged by 4 snow bunnies, okay, in this case, immigrants. So we're going to go salsa bunny. Yep, immigrants. I believe that they're Mexican, okay, no disrespect to the Mexican people. And these 4 women who had worked for Smokey Art from 18 years, for one of them, been with him 18 years, another one been with him 12 years, another one been working with Smokey for 6 years, and the last one had only been there for 1 year. So you got an 18-year bunny, you got a 12-year bunny, you got a 6-year bunny, you got a 1-year bunny. And they all recruited each other, Art. They all knew each other and they pulled each other in. So here's what I'm saying. The one who been there the longest, she claimed Smokey Robinson assaulted her, sexually assaulted her. If that's the case, Art, why did you bring other immigrant women into this unsafe work environment? If it wasn't safe for you, if you were sexually assaulted by Motown legend, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Smokey Robinson, why would you be comfortable enough to invite some of your other country women, your fellow nationals, into this unsafe work environment? So, and the one who been there for 18 years, Art, she said that she served as Smokey Robinson's wife's cook, hairdresser, personal assistant. Cook, hairdresser, personal assistant. So if you this tight with Smokey Robinson's wife and Smokey Robinson sexually assaults you in his infamous blue bedroom, why didn't you tell his wife? Why didn't you go to the police? Why didn't you file a complaint? Why didn't you tell your husband? So you continued to go to work after you were sexually assaulted and you don't even tell his wife who you close to? That don't make sense. And then you bring other women into it. Now, the woman who was only there for a year, Art, she says that she was assaulted 7 times, I believe. 7 times. She claims that Smokey allegedly would drop his wife off. They claim Smokey would drop his wife off at the hair salon, nail salon. He would go home, take a shower, come out the bathroom, either naked or in his boxers. He would put a towel down on the bed so it ain't no evidence there, I guess, for when his wife comes home. And that he would perform oral sex on some of these workers. And then after oral sex, he'd flip them over and clap their salsa cheeks. That's what a few of them claim. Another one claims that Smokey would text her and invite her to the garage or the laundry room. And in the garage and in the laundry room, he would request oral sex. And she claims that he liked to release on her face, full facial. And the particular aide that said that Smokey would make her engage in oral sex in the laundry room and in the garage, she says she was assaulted 20 to 23 times. So you mean to tell me this old man, 85 years old, is forcing you into unwanted sexual encounters at 85, 80, 85, 75, however many years you claim this happened. Because for the one who only been there a year, he was 84. For the one who been there 6 years, he was 79. For the one who been there 12 years, he was in his 70s. Now, the one who been there for 18 years, she might have a case, but you're the cook and the hairdresser for his wife. So I'm trying to understand, how could a man that age, that old, force you to do anything to the point where you're giving him oral sex in his garage and laundry room, and he's giving you full facials 20 times, Art, over 6 years, 12 years, and you don't tell nobody, not even your husband? So you mean to tell me Smokey Robinson is doing this to you, busting in your face, and you going home and kissing your husband, and you don't do anything about this legally? It don't sound right to me, Art. When I look at how racist, not all, but many Mexicans can be towards African people in America, there's no way you're tolerating that type of treatment. You could have went straight to a lawyer. You and your husband and your family could have went straight to a lawyer. They claim, Art, that they were embarrassed. They claim that they didn't want to tell their husbands and their children. They claim that they were concerned about a loss of pay. But why would you care about a loss of pay if your womanhood is being violated? And here's the big thing, Art. This was not a solo incident. Like Shannon Sharp, solo incident. Tyler Perry, that we're going to talk about, solo incident. This is 4 women. So each of you are witnesses to the other 3. So if you need witnesses, Art, you got 3 witnesses built into the case, and none of y'all don't quit until recently. This not making any sense. So one of them was like the oral sex person, allegedly. 2 of them, was his, back shot buddies, right? He would take a shower, bend them over, clap their salsa buns, whatever the case may be. Allegedly, he liked to give them oral sex. And I'm saying to myself, Art, how does a man that age force you to accept his oral? And how does a man that age force you to perform oral on him? I can't see it. Smokey has reverse sued them, Art. Now, back up a minute. They initially demanded $100 million. Initially, they demanded $100 million in 2024. They wanted $100 million. And then when they finally took it to court with the black lawyer they got, they reduced it to $50 million. They went from 100 to 50. Smokey's lawyer alleges that they stole financial paperwork from Smokey and his wife. In other words, Art, they plotted this whole thing. They got the financial paperwork to see exactly how much money that they were worth. So while they're working, they're also plotting. Smokey and his wife let their guard down too much. Smokey and his wife let their guard down too much. So they plot, they stole financial paperwork. They also stole Smokey's wife's phone, Art, and deleted all the pictures that showed they were in a good working relationship with them. Smokey bought one of them a car. He paid for the dental surgery for one of them or a family member. He gave them money for their families. I believe that they were working under the table, didn't have to pay taxes. They celebrated holidays together. Smokey and his wife took them on vacation with them. And see, Art, one of their allegations in the case is that Smokey Robinson did not allow them to leave the situation. They were living in the home, and they say Smokey didn't let us leave. But at least one of them, Art, had quit and came back and asked for their job back. So help me understand how you being sexually assaulted. One of them said 7 times. One of them said 20 times. One of them said 23 times over a period of 18 years for one, 12 years for another, 6 years for another, and the last one was 1 year. Now, I don't know if this was a great-grandmom, grandmom, grandchild, and great-grandchild situation. I don't know. Okay, but if she was there for 18 years, Art, how do you not tell the person who you bringing in after working 6 years what they in for? And how do the both of you who each been working, one been working 6 years, the other been working 12 years. You don't tell the third worker what you've been going through for 12 years and what you've been going through for 6 years. So, Art, you don't give the new workers a heads up. You don't tell them what y'all getting into. Here's what I believe, Art. And again, Smokey is countersuing for $500 million. Smokey is suing them for defamation of character. Smokey is suing them for financial elder abuse because they stole his financial paperwork to come up with how much money they was going to sue him for. Smokey also says that him and his wife had a safe in the house that had valuables in it. And the only people who knew what a safe was these 4 immigrants. And somebody robbed the safe out of their house. Now, you don't have to be a rocket science to know that if you got a hidden safe in your house and the only people who know where the safe is are the 4 immigrants, there's a 99% chance that the immigrants set you up to get robbed, right? So Smokey is countersuing. He's also suing them for unauthorized access to his computer system because they went into his computer system. Okay, so they was very, very comprehensive, Art, in deciding how they was going to entrap Smokey. And I'm going to tell you something. Smokey Robinson made the same mistake Shannon Sharp made. And the same mistake Tyler Perry made when we get to Tyler Perry. And that is this, Art. If you go and pimp outside of your community, and I'm using pimp loosely, so I'm going to say macking. If you're going to mac women outside of your community, Art, you got to take care of them. Smokey was giving them $10 an hour. Smoke. If they doing backflips for you in the bedroom, you giving her full facials in the garage in the laundry room. You know what I mean? If you freaking these women out the way you freaking them out and you got a four-piece, okay, pay them more than $10 an hour. It's the same thing with Shannon, not to go back to him too much, Art, but remember what I said. He wasn't taking care of Gabrielle Zuniga. If Shannon was lacing her with some real money, he wouldn't be in no trouble right now. But you not taking care of them the way you're supposed to, and you fail to realize she a white woman. In this case, Smokey, you fail to realize they Mexicans. They don't like us anyway, most of them. So if this don't go their way, they're going to pop off on you. And what did they do? 2 weeks after Smokey Robinson released his latest album, Art. Smokey just dropped, I believe it was his 26th solo album. And 12 to 2 weeks after Smokey dropped his new album, they took him to court. They didn't even wait. They said he got a new album out. That money coming in. He already got money. We going to take him. They planned this whole thing. I believe the sex was consensual. I believe that they were willing to engage in it as long as they were being properly cared for. I believe that they might have approached him for more money, Art, and Smokey, for whatever reason, reneged. This is just what I think. I don't have the proof. This is just what I feel. I believe that they might have gave him an ultimatum. Remember, Gabriella Zuniga told Shannon what? I need 20 grand a cheek. Shannon didn't give in. So she got with the lawyer, Tony Busby, and 20 grand a cheek turned into 20 million a cheek. So I don't think they just cut on Smoke. I think they probably made, innuendos to him and his wife that we need to get paid more money. And Smokey and his wife felt like they was already doing too much for them, Art. And that's why they decided to sue him. I think this gets thrown out. There's no way you can be 18 years on a job being taken advantage of sexually and you didn't participate in this. There's no way you could be on the job 12 years, married with children, and you never call the police. You never take out a complaint. You never sue him. You don't tell your husband. This man is giving you facials. He's giving you full facials and you going home laying up with your husband. No way. This was consensual, Art. And they didn't get out the deal what they wanted out the deal. And now they're trying to destroy Smokey Robinson. Black men with money don't learn. You can't mac non-black women the way you mac black women. And when I say that, Art, I'm not saying that our sisters have any less of a standard. They don't. What I'm saying is it is 100 times harder for a black woman to get a sex crimes conviction in court. Black women know they are considered guilty, Art, until proven innocent. Our women know that. These other women, these non-black women, they know that the black man, no matter how rich he is going to be considered guilty until he proves it's innocent. If you're going to mac non-black women, Tyler Perry, in his case, a non-black man, Smokey Robinson, Shannon Sharp, or whoever else, take care of them financially. That's the lesson of this story. They think they can discard Mexican women, discard white women the way they do our sisters, which ain't right. You can't do that with them because they got the whole weight of the criminal justice system behind them. Our sisters do not.
You got to be a real piece of shit to do that to an 85-year-old man.
I agree with you. 85 years old, destroy that man character like that. And their lawyer, Art, their black lawyer, called Smokey a sick serial R. And you know what the R word is. He called him, quote, a sick serial R. So Smokey got to have a countersuit, Art, because they're trying to drag his name through the dirt and completely destroy his public credibility. And you know what this shows? It don't matter how old you get, Art. As a successful black man in America, it don't matter how old you get. It don't matter how light-skinned you may be, because our brother Smokey is a very fair-skinned brother. It don't matter how great your legacy is. Smokey has over 4,000 songs to his credit, Art. 4,000 songs. He's produced some of the greatest acts we've ever seen in America. And look what they doing to him at 85 years old. Date within your race. Smokey could have got 4 beautiful sisters, Art. He could have got four aunties. Okay, if he got to do what he got to do, he could have got him a team of 4 aunties and get his old ass somewhere and sit down. Instead of getting you 4 black women, you're going to go mess with the Mexicans. And now look what you're doing. I pray he wins this. I do not believe he sexually assaulted anybody. I'm hoping that Smokey and his wife, Frances, achieve a victory in court. I hope this gets thrown out because I cannot see how they can be found guilty given their age and given the amount of time that these women were on the job.
That's real talk. But his lawyers, they jumped on it real fast, man. They didn't waste no time. They wasn't playing, man.
They have to. Smokey is an icon, brother. Smokey, he's not Michael Jackson, right? But he's like next tier. You know, Smokey and Stevie Wonder, they are half notch down from Mike. You know, his career go back to the 60s, or maybe one full notch down from Mike. But I'm speaking in terms of Black America, Art. I'm speaking, or let me say in terms of America.
He up there, but he ain't on Stevie Wonder level.
They close though, because you got to remember, Smokey is the producer. Berry Gordy was the backbone, but Smokey was the brains, and he was the producer. Remember, he helped produce some of Stevie Wonder, if I'm not mistaken. You see what I'm saying? He was there before Steve. I'm not taking that away from Stevie. Stevie the GOAT. But I would have to argue that Smokey right there with Steve. There's nobody I can clearly put above Smokey in Motown history except Michael Jackson. As great as Stevie is, and he may be greater than Smoke, I don't know. But for me, I see them two as equals and about a step or half step below Mike in terms of what they represent for Black America and what they represent in America in general in terms of Black music. Globally, it ain't even close. Mike got it globally, right? But domestically, Stevie and Smoke, they right there. But this is a shame. I'm sorry he's going through this, and I hope they win the case.
Yeah, I hope they win this, man. How you feel about Tyler Perry and what he's being accused of?
We got to deal with Tyler. When you talk about the jealousy that the music industry has for Black men, it's insane, bro. It's insane. Tyler Perry goes to the BET Awards. He gives a speech, and he's an excellent orator, by the way. I'm an orator. I study oratory. Tyler Perry could have been a pastor or a community activist. He's a very good speaker, very good public speaker. He says that I've made more millionaires than every other studio in this city combined. That's what he said. And don't you know, I don't know if it was the next day, but it was definitely the same week. All of a sudden, he gets hit with a $260 million lawsuit from Derek Dixon, who met Tyler Perry in 2019 as an employee of an event company. So he was working at one of the events that Tyler Perry contracted this event company to come to and host. He met Tyler Perry there. Tyler Perry invited him to audition for an upcoming show called Ruthless. Later on, Tyler Perry tells him, allegedly, according to Derek Dixon's attorney, Tyler Perry told him, I can change your life. Stick with me, I could change your whole life. He then invites him to audition for a role on The Oval, Tyler Perry series The Oval. Derek Dixon stars in 85 episodes of The Oval between 2020 or 2021 until 2024, 2025. In January of 2020, Art, right before COVID, Tyler Perry allegedly texts Derek Dixon and says, among other things, I can't remember the last time I had really good sex. Now, as a heterosexual male, if another man sends me a text telling me he can't remember the last time he had good sex, I already know that that ain't somebody I need to be around alone, because he clearly got the wrong idea about me. In fact, I'm going to have to let him know. In the future, fam, I don't need to know about your sex life. So Tyler Perry texts him this. He can't remember the last time he had great sex. And then he invites Derek Dixon to his house. Derek Dixon goes to Tyler Perry's house in Georgia. He says, allegedly, according to the criminal complaint or the civil suit, he says Tyler Perry gave him some drinks. They were talking. He started to feel a little tipsy. It got late. Tyler Perry tells Derek, it's a little too late for you to drive home tonight. You've been drinking. I have a guest bedroom. Come and stay in my guest bedroom. Derek Dixon goes to the guest bedroom. He's tired. He's been drinking. He's ready to get some sleep. He says he lays down. And at some point, Tyler Perry comes into his room, slips into the bed behind him, and start rubbing the inside of his thigh. Now, Art, he don't leave. He don't punch him. He don't get dressed and call a Uber or get in his car and get up out of there. In fact, he goes back to work like nothing happened. You could have sued him right there. But he says, and this is where I think Tyler Perry has some room to stand and defend himself. Derek repeatedly alleges that he was concerned about his job and his career. Well, if you're concerned about your job and your career, and this black man is sexually harassing you, why not turn him in? Why isn't your manhood or your self-respect, even if you're homosexual, if this man is sexually assaulting you, because you can be sexually assaulted as a homosexual as well, why not turn him in? Why are you saying I put up with it for the sake of the job? To me, you are collaborating and voluntarily participating in this, because you could have ended this a long time ago. So anyway, Art, he says that Tyler Perry, throughout this whole relationship of 2020 to 2024, is grabbing his butt cheeks. He says one day Tyler Perry comes into his trailer, grabs him violently by the neck, grabs his butt. Then he says a couple months later, there was another incident. Then the following year, in June of 2021, he says Tyler Perry pulled his underwear down, Art. Help me out. Help me out. If this man allegedly pulled your underwear down and grabbed your ass cheeks, why are you not going to a lawyer or going to the police? This man is a billionaire. He's a billionaire. Why are you hanging around? He says Tyler Perry coerced him, Art. Coerced him into accepting the sexual exploitation because Tyler Perry promised him his own show. Tyler Perry promised him career advancement. He allegedly, Tyler Perry was going to provide him with career advancement opportunities. So he says he felt like he had to endure this sexual harassment so it wouldn't mess up his options. As far as I'm concerned, that means you volunteered for it. You volunteered for it. You were willing to accept it because you thought you would get something out of it. Then he says, Art, around June of 2024, Derek Dixon comes to his senses and he decides that Tyler Perry has been lying to me this entire 4.5-year relationship. He's been lying. From 2020 to June of 2021, that's 4.5. He's been lying. So he says once he came to his realization that he'd been lying, he decided to stop showing up for work. He said Tyler Perry told him he had to take an unpaid medical leave. That's when he got with his lawyer, and that's when he decided to sue. Here's where I'm at. Same mistake as Smokey, same mistake as Shannon. Tyler Perry wasn't taking care of him. Allegedly, Art, because Tyler Perry has not admitted to being bisexual. He has not admitted to any of these crimes. So I'm saying allegedly. If what this man is saying is true, Tyler Perry made the same mistake as Smokey Robinson, Shannon Sharpe, and so many other black men dating non-black people. You didn't take care of him. From what I read, Art, he was being paid $10,000 an episode. And then when he got upset with Tyler Perry, allegedly, he went up to $15,000 an episode or maybe $25,000 an episode. However that go, don't quote me. But initially, he was only getting about 10 grand. Here we go again, Art. Smokey Robinson. If you want these women to be your girl toys, Tyler Perry, allegedly, if you want Derek Dixon to be your boy toy, $10,000 an episode for a billionaire is not going to cut it. I believe, Art, that Derek Dixon, who claims he never had intercourse with Tyler, that's going to be a big thing, Art, because when I was reading the civil complaint, it doesn't appear that Derek Dixon ever admitted to having any type of relation with Tyler Perry. 4.5 years, I wonder if that's true. Because if Tyler Perry can prove, allegedly, that him and Derek Dixon engaged in any type of consensual sexual exchange, I think this case can be thrown out. I think the argument can be made that you was engaged in consensual relations with Mr. Perry. And because you didn't get what you wanted to out of this Gabrielle Zuniga and Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, Jane Doe 3, and Jane Doe 4 for Smokey Robinson, you decided to try to exploit him in the courts for money because you know he's wealthy. So if Tyler can prove that any of this was consensual, I think this case can get thrown out. Why? Because you was around this man for 4.5 years, Art, almost 5 years, and you never did anything about his sexual advancements. Pulling your pants down, grabbing your booty, asking you if you like to be a top or a bottom, asking you about your relations with other men, saying he jealous seeing you around other men. There was too much harassment, allegedly, for you to have not done nothing in nearly 5 years. So if Tyler Perry can prove that they had relations, Art, I think this gets thrown out. Now, if Tyler Perry can't prove that, here's where I stand on this suit. First of all, $260 million is ridiculous. That's number one. But number two, Art, I believe that Derek Dixon would have become Tyler Perry's lover if Tyler Perry gave him what he wanted. If Tyler Perry would have gave him his own show, I think he becomes his lover. Because according to Derek Dixon, Tyler Perry allegedly told him that he wants a male lover who will keep quiet and not become emotionally attached. He claims Tyler Perry told him, I don't have enough time to get emotionally involved in a relationship. So I'm looking for somebody I can smash and dash, who keep their mouth shut, And don't get all emotional with me because I ain't got time for that. So basically, he kind of wanted a boy toy. Derek Dixon doesn't seem like he really made it clear to him that he was not going to be that. Here's where I think Tyler Perry messed up. Like I said, he didn't take care of him, Art. But in addition to that, Derek Dixon was not going to be no cheap hoe. He was not going to be no cheap hoe. That's like, Art, you dating a woman and a woman says, you ain't getting these panties until you buy me a car. And you keep trying to get the panties. You keep trying to get the panties. She said, I'm not giving you no panties until you buy me a car. You buy her the car, you get the panties. If you don't buy the car, you don't get the panties. I simply think Derek Dixon was not a cheap hoe, Art. Tyler Perry didn't keep his end of the bargain, so he never let him smash. He never let him smash, period. Tyler Perry thought he was going to get him before he fulfilled his part of the bargain. Derek Dixon wasn't a cheap hoe. He said, you ain't going to play me cheap. You're going to give me my own show, and if you don't, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep all the text messages. I'm going to keep all the exchange. Just like the Mexicans with Smokey, just like Gabrielle with Shannon, I'm going to keep all the information, Art. And if I don't get my own show, guess what I'm going to do? Run to the lawyers and sue you for $260 million. These wealthy black men, Art, need to learn. You cannot deal with non-African women the way you deal with African women. Our sisters are burdened by racism. They are burdened by negative stereotypes from slavery that have never been true of them. Our sisters have never been Jezebels. It was the slave master who sought after our women and raped our women. They didn't pursue them. But that's the stereotype that America has carried for 400 years. And every black woman who goes into court seeking justice against a perpetrator has to deal with the fact that people see her as sexually promiscuous. Mexican women ain't got to worry about that. Caucasian women ain't got to worry about that. Chinese women ain't got to worry about that. Arabs ain't got to worry about that. East Indians ain't got to worry about that. So these wealthy black men, Art, need to understand you can't deal with non-African lovers the way you deal with queens. And our queens shouldn't be mistreated at all. I'm just drawing a comparison here. Tyler Perry, Smokey Robinson, Shannon Sharp, you messing up. Get your act together.
Yeah, from the checks I've seen, the dude do seem a little high maintenance.
Yes, yes. His whole thing is, I'll be your boy toy, but I'm going to get something out of this because you're a billionaire. You ain't going to play me cheap. And then Derek Dixon's, his attorney, claims that this is what Tyler Perry does to get his lovers. He claimed that there's other men who have worked for Tyler Perry Studios who have been fired because they did not consent fully to Tyler Perry's sexual requests and or constant overbearing harassment. So he says, Tyler Perry will put you in shows, write you in, lavish you with all kind of stuff, make you real comfortable with a very firm understanding that you can lose it all if you don't do what I want you to do. So the lawyer claims there's other men who have a similar story to Derek Dixon. He even mentions Cosby, Carter, Combs, Weinstein, and Spacey in the lawsuit. So the lawyer is trying to draw a parallel from Tyler Perry to Bill Cosby, Sean Combs, R. Kelly, Weinstein, and Spacey. He mentions them in the lawsuit. And he says Tyler Perry is using his status and his power to force young, struggling actors into unwanted sexual relationships. I believe he led Tyler Perry on hoping he would get a show. I believe Tyler Perry was never interested in giving him a show. I think he found out Tyler Perry was playing games, and because he's white and still a racist, and Tyler Perry is still black, although a billionaire, and he decided to show Tyler Perry who's really in charge. And this is why I say, Art, it don't matter how much money you have. It don't matter how much power you have. Whenever you're dealing with a white woman or a white man, they still have more power than you. Tyler Perry's a billionaire. Derek Dixon might have been struggling, but guess what, Art? Derek Dixon has the full power of the American criminal justice system behind him. He got the full power of American civil court behind him. He got the full power of American media behind him. He got the full power of American society behind him. Tyler Perry's billions will be neutralized by Derek Dixon's white privilege. They were playing each other. They were playing each other. He was stringing Tyler Perry along long enough to get his show. Tyler Perry was stringing him along long enough to get some booty, allegedly. And it just so happens that Tyler Perry realized he ain't going to get no booty, right? And then Derek Dixon realized, I'm not going to get no show. So Tyler Perry expected him to walk away, Art. He thinking he just going to walk away. Why would he just walk away when you a billionaire? He going to embarrass you and he going to exploit you because at the end of the day, you ain't nothing but a nigga to him and you supposed to know your place even as a billionaire. When a white person throws a temper tantrum at a black person, you better get ready. That's why it does not benefit us to date outside of our race, Art, because you take too many hits. Look at Smokey. Look at Smokey. Look at Shannon. And now Tyler Perry, a rainbow bunny coming for his bag. 260 mils. I don't think he gets it because, again, for me, if they're being honest, you volunteered for this, bro. 5 years, you didn't do nothing, no lawsuits, no complaints, no nothing. I'm sorry, he did finally file a complaint against Tyler Perry with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. He did, Art. But I don't think that was until 2024 when he decided to take leave. Tyler Perry said medical leave without pay. It was at the end of the journey, though. It was still too late. I mean, this man texted you and said he can't remember the last time he had good sex, and you're going to go over his house alone and stay the night. He was teasing him on. Both of them were using each other. This was a co-exploitation. Tyler Perry allegedly wanted booty. Derek Dixon allegedly wanted his own show. The only problem, Art, is what? The only person who has something to lose was Tyler Perry. Smokey Robinson. The only person who has something to lose was Smokey Robinson. Shannon Sharp. The only person who has something to lose was Shannon Sharp. Gabrielle Zuniga was her OnlyFans model. Stop dating women outside your race. And if you're going to date women outside your race, make sure, Art, they have as much to lose as you do. Tyler Perry should have found him, if he's into that. I'm not going to say the man is homosexual. If he is bisexual, he should have found somebody who has as much to lose as he does in the entertainment world, and he would have avoided all this. They dating down, Art. They are dating down, thinking they're going to drop these people when they tired of messing with them. It ain't going to happen. You worth too much. Because at the end of the day, every black person in this country, Art, is nothing more than an opportunity and a tool. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are. I don't care how much money you have. Black people were brought here as objects to be exploited, and we are still objects to be exploited. And the minute you forget that you're nothing but an object or an opportunity to Gabrielle Zuniga, for Mexican immigrants, okay, or to Tyler Perry, in the case of Derek Dixon, they're going to remind you who you are, and they're going to remind you who they are.
The texts we see online, them real texts, right? The ones that leaked online from the lawsuit?
No, I believe they real. I believe they real because in the lawsuit, they have some of the text messages listed. Now, here's the interesting thing, though, Art. Smokey Robinson is countersuing. Fat Joe is countersuing. Who else did we talk about a minute ago? Fat Joe is countersuing. Smokey Robinson is countersuing.
And Tyler Perry.
It does, no. It don't look like Tyler Perry is countersuing. He might be, but I didn't see anything.
And the reason why I asked you if the text is real is because, I mean, if they real, then yeah, Tyler Perry is gay, man. I mean, he made it known in them texts that, he in them in.
They both consented. I don't agree with same-sex relationships. If Tyler Perry into that, that's him. We all know the childhood he's been through. It can breed that type of pathology. But to me, this was a consensual relationship that was mutually beneficial and mutually exploitative. That's how I see. If I'm on the jury, Tyler Perry's relationship with Derek Dixon was mutually exploitative, mutually beneficial. Neither one of them are in the right. Neither one of them are in the wrong if everything stated is true. That's how I'm looking at that. You still got put on, you still got paid, you still got famous. You feel me? You were taken care of, not to the point you wanted to be, but you were still taken care of. I think it was mutually beneficial and mutually exploitative. You see, now he never accused Tyler Perry of flat out sexually assaulting him with the R. You feel me? To me, it just looked like a lot of butt cheek grabbing is what I saw. A lot of thigh rubbing. You feel me? Like nowhere did I read he held me down and forcibly penetrated me. I don't see that nowhere. I'm seeing a bunch of butt smacking, butt grabbing. He pulled his underwear down. You still stayed on the job. Come on, Art. Come on, man. This is consensual. It's consensual. Same thing with Smokey Robinson and the four Mexicans. Come on now. You keep coming back and forth to work for 18 years, 12 years, 6 years, 1 year, letting this man do all this to you, you doing all this to him. Here's my thing, Art. Smokey Robinson giving you oral sex, right? Did you refuse it? Because how does an 85-year-old man hold you down, Art, for oral sex? How does an 85-year-old man hold you down for oral sex? You enjoyed it as much as he did, but you didn't get out of it what you wanted to. The mistake of Smokey, the mistake of Tyler, the mistake of Shannon, the mistake of all of them is you're dating down and outside your race. You cannot afford to do that. You got too much to lose. I don't think any of these men sexually assaulted anybody. I don't think Smokey guilty. I don't think Shannon Sharpe is guilty. I don't think Tyler Perry is guilty, but I would convict them on one count of being dumbass black men in racist white America. I would convict them of that. And I would sentence them to 500 lashes apiece, except Uncle Smokey. He too old to be taking lashes. But I will convict them for being silly multimillionaires, and in Tyler Perry's case, multi-billionaire. You a fool. You can't carry yourself like you working at McDonald's. They out here crashing out, Art, crashing out for non-black vagina and non-black rectum. This is insane. This is insane. Black men have to get our lower chakras. I see you laughing, Art. Black men got to get our lower chakras under control, Art. We got to get our chakras under control. This is madness. This is madness.
Yeah, you threw me off when you said rectum, but yeah, that guy, he's a legend that he was in bed and Tyler Perry, he crawled in bed with him, and Tyler Perry started touching on him.
Yeah, he said Tyler Perry rubbed his thigh.
You know what I mean? Like, how does it get to that point? I don't know. I'm confused.
Remember, when I was saying he went over his house, they had some drinks. It got late. Tyler Perry felt he was a little too tipsy to drive home. Tyler Perry invited him to stay. He stayed. He slides into the bed with Derek Dixon, allegedly, starts rubbing his leg. Derek Dixon told him, I'm not sexual. That's what he kept saying throughout the lawsuit. I'm not sexual. So I don't know if he was trying to claim he was a virgin or if he was trying to claim that he just wasn't ready to have relations with Tyler Perry. He never said he wasn't homosexual, though. So I believe he's definitely that, but he just wasn't ready. Bottom line, he had too much art. He knew what he wanted, period. Derek Dixon said, you a billionaire, you the man, and you ain't clapping these cheeks until I get my own show, period. And Tyler Perry thought he was going to clap, allegedly, if this is true. He thought he was going to clap, and Derek wouldn't give it up. He wanted his own show. Neither one of them, they used each other. They played each other. They played each other. It's sad, man, because I don't want to see Tyler Perry disgraced. Tyler Perry is one of the few black men in this century, Art, who could go on my Mount Rushmore for black achievement if he starts producing some very serious, empowering, African-centered movies. Like he did the movie about the sisters in World War II. That was an integrationist kind of thing. It was nice. It was cute. It was good. Shout out to Tyler Perry for that. Kerry Washington, great job, and the other sisters on there. I liked it. but we need a Black Wall Street movie. You know, we need a Marcus Garvey. We need Haitian Revolution. We need Ida B. Wells. Like, if Tyler Perry art can give me 12 strong black movies, not no integrationist flicks about how we desegregated the army. I'm tired of the integrationist flicks. Give me some strong black power. Give me 12 powerful black dramas. Powerful. He could end up on my Mount Rushmore right next to Bryan Stevenson. Right now, I only have Bryan Stevenson up there, the brother in charge of the Innocence Project, because he's helped so many Africans get off of death row who were illegally charged and sentenced to life. Tyler Perry could get up there because media is powerful and controlling the way black people think and feel is powerful. Tyler Perry has that ability in his hands. I just don't want him to throw it away, because if he keep on getting hit with these lawsuits, I'm going to have to cancel him from my list. Not cancel him generally, but cancel him from a Mount Rushmore. But Tyler Perry could hit that Mount Rushmore if he do the right thing. I hate to see this for him. I hate to see this for Smokey. I hate to see this for Snow Bunny Shannon Sharp.
Unfortunate to see. Fat Joe, how you feel about the allegations he being accused of?
Now, I never met Fat Joe. I saw him once in concert when I was in college. They had him up there. The Black Student Union had him up there for Spring Fling. I was in grad school at the time. He did a damn good concert too. Fat Joe got some lyrics. I still remember that concert. Fat Joe got some lyrics. Never met him, but I do appreciate the fact that he always makes it clear that he considers himself an African, a Latino African. He makes it clear hip hop comes from African culture. I respect him for that, because you got American Africans who won't even do that. Some people say he's not a Latino African. They say he's a Caucasian Latino. I don't know if he is or not. I can't go off his complexion, because I got people in my family are as light as Fat Joe who are not Caucasians. They black with 2 black parents. They got slave master blood that came down 5 or 6, 7, 8 generations later, and they turned out pale. You feel me? So I can't go off of him being pale, because I got relatives, the same complexion as Fat Joe, and they are not mixed race. So if Fat Joe say African, until somebody proves otherwise, he's African. So as a Latino African brother, I hate this for him if it's not true. I hate this for him if it's not true. Now, the brother Terrence, respect to him. He was Fat Joe's hype man for about 16 years, from what I understand. He said he helped him co-create some of his songs. He gave him a lot of ideas. He was basically a co-creator in the shadows. He said he never got properly compensated. He was never credited with helping Fat Joe out. I don't know the nature of why they fell out or whatever the case may be, but he claims that he saw Fat Joe engage in the sexual trafficking of minors, 15 and 16-year-old girls. Now, just to make sure we clear on this, Art, in Pennsylvania, where I live, the age of sexual majority is 16. Sexual majority in Pennsylvania is 16. But guess what, Art? Sexual majority in New York is 17. Although he has no business messing with girls that age, period. I want to be clear about that. But from a legal perspective, in New York, sexual majority is 17, which means that he would not be off the hook if, in fact, those charges of statutory rape, right, or sexual traffic of minors are true. Now, in New York State, civil criminal statutory rape, I forget, one is 3 years and one can be up to 20 years. I think if it's civil statutory rape, it's a 3-year statute. If it's criminal statutory rape, it might be 20, or it might be reversed. Don't quote me on that, but depending on when these things happen, Fat Joe might not be out of the statutory window, Art. He might, this is something that they can pull back in if these girls are willing to testify, or if other people are willing to testify as well. He claims that Fat Joe flew a 15-year-old girl to Miami, to New York, and that he even contemplating leaving his wife for the 15-year-old. Again, none of us know how true this stuff is. These are the allegations. I can say if it is or not. He claims that Fat Joe forced him into participating involuntarily into 4,000 different sex acts against his will. He said even sometimes Fat Joe would make him have sex with women in front of Fat Joe's inner circle or his team. The lawsuit basically says, the way that Terrence's lawyer puts it, it basically kind of says that Fat Joe was like a little Diddy, for lack of a better word, because he's kind of being accused of the same crimes: sex trafficking, RICO. I think some prostitution might be in there. So he's kind of getting the same charges or accusations thrown at him, as Diddy had thrown at him. Now, the question is, I don't know if Fat Joe case is going to be a Fed case. It might only be state, whereas Diddy's was Diddy versus the United States, not Diddy versus the people of New York. So I don't know how Fat Joe's is going to go, because, again, the government brought suit against Diddy. This man is bringing suit against Fat Joe. So I'm assuming this is going to be a state civil case. I'm assuming, unless the feds grab it and say, we want to look at this sex trafficking, this interstate sex trafficking of minors, then this can get a whole lot bigger than what it can be. Now, if what Terrence is saying is true, Art, Fat Joe guilty of the same thing: not taking care of folks who can bring you down. If it's true, I don't know if it is. I hope it's not. I like Fat Joe. I've always been a fan. I hope this stuff ain't true. I hope the brother just angry and just trying to come at him because he never got properly compensated. I hope it's not true. If it is true, Fat Joe guilty of the same thing. The brother want money. He only suing for 20 mil, Art. He's suing for 20. It's the lowest. Tyler Perry, 260 mil. Smokey, 50 mil. Shannon Sharp, 50 mil. Terrence want 20 mil. So my thing to Fat Joe, whether it's true or not, because your reputation is still going to take a hit. Tyler Perry, whether it's true or not, your reputation is still going to take a hit. Smokey Robinson, Shannon Sharp, whether it's true or not, your reputation is still going to take a hit. Why not just take care of him? Fat Joe could have probably gave him 5 mil a couple years ago, and he would have just slid off, man. We got to do better with our people, because you know how vindictive people are. People are vindictive. Now, the brother might have a case. He may, in fact, have been done wrong by Fat Joe. I'm not going to call him a liar. I don't know the facts. Maybe Fat Joe did him wrong and treated him like a sucker. I can understand how he feel, right? On the flip side, if Fat Joe is innocent, all he had to do was pay him, Art. Now, I am going to say this. No disrespect to Terrence. I don't know him, but I am going to say this. To my knowledge, Fat Joe is heterosexual. To my knowledge, Terrence is heterosexual. To my knowledge, everybody in Terror Squad is heterosexual. Art, there's no way you can convince me. There's no way you can convince me that a heterosexual man can be forced by another man in the hip hop industry to engage in 4,000 separate sex acts against your will. I'm not calling Brother Terrence a liar. I'm just saying it's hard for me to believe, as a heterosexual, that another man could force you 4,000 times over 16 years to engage in sex with women against your will. And then the other question that will come up about this, Art: how do you prove that? Do you have 4,000 names? Like, do you got evidence of 4,000 encounters? Now, he could probably prove a dozen or so, Art, depending on when and where. But I think that part gets thrown out. Because how do you substantiate 4,000 separate forcible sex offenses for a heterosexual male? I would just have to assume that some of them fine, sexy Latino African sisters, he wanted to smash some of them. You know what I mean? He's not going to convince me that all that was forced. You wanted some of them queens, all right? But again, some of them he could have been forced, bro. It's just a shame that they couldn't work this out before it got to this point. We got to do better with working through conflicts, man. We bad at it. It's not something that the hip hop industry is good at. It's not something that African people are good at in general, whether you know, an American African, Latino African. We got to do better with conflicts. We do not resolve conflicts well, man. I think this is something that could have been prevented. In fact, I think every lawsuit that we didn't discuss, Art, could have been prevented. Every one. Pay people so they don't destroy you later. Period. Pay people what they worth, or at least some of what they think they're worth, so they don't destroy you later. Got to take care of them. You can't be a pimp if you don't know how to treat your hoes. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. You cannot be a successful pimp if you don't know how to treat your hoes. And I don't support pimping or macking or prostitution or none of that. But I'm seeing a lot of voluntary stuff, Art, that automatically becomes involuntary when I don't get what I want. Black men cannot afford it. We are presumed guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, that's real talk. R. Kelly, how you feel about what him and his team is claiming?
R. Kelly, Robert Kelly. You know, Art, the R. Kelly situation is sensitive and it's unfortunate. Because although I never saw the video that came out about him back in 2002, showing him engaged in some sort of inappropriate sexual relations with an underage child, I never saw it. But enough people have told me that they've saw it for me to believe that it may be true. So some people would say because he's guilty of sex crimes, even if someone is trying to unalive him, we should just let it happen. Although I understand that sentiment, Art, I also understand the white man and how he thinks. We can never, not for the sake of R. Kelly, but for the sake of all the other black people in this country, we can never let this corrupt government and this corrupt criminal justice system think that if we are completely done with a certain person, if we have canceled them from the community, we can never let them think that it's okay for them to unjustly murder them after the fact for something that has nothing to do with the reason that they are incarcerated. So R. Kelly's attorney, Bo Brinkley, has alleged, and I believe him, I absolutely believe him. He has alleged that there is a contract on R. Kelly's life. I absolutely believe him. This was alleged even before the most recent overdose situation. So a couple of days ago, R. Kelly is in his cell, solitary confinement. They bring him his anxiety medication. And they give him twice as much as they should have. What nurse makes that mistake, Art? Especially when it's already been put out there that the Bureau of Prisons and the U.S. attorneys and the Department of Justice are trying to take this man's life. What is that a coincidence? I don't believe it is. So R. Kelly receives an overdose in solitary confinement. He wakes up the next day, barely able to stand. He's seeing black spots. He's blurry, brain fog. I believe he falls to the ground, crawls over, barely gets the door open. The prison guards find him. They want to take him to the prison medical facility, but the prison medical facility said, we can't treat him. We don't have what he needs. So they take him to Duke University Hospital. R. Kelly gets to Duke University Hospital, and it is confirmed by the physicians that he has suffered an overdose at the hands of the prison's medical staff. They also diagnose him with blood clots in both legs and blood clots in his lungs. Now, we know, Art, one of the side effects of cheap drugs are blood clots. I don't think he had them blood clots when he got sentenced to prison. He's only been in jail a couple years, Art. He's not that old. So how did he develop blood clots in his legs and in his lungs that quickly? I believe R. Kelly's medication is intentionally, with deliberate intent, he's being given meds to cause blood clots in his legs and in his lungs. I absolutely believe that. Now check this out, Art. R. Kelly's attorney, Bo Brinkley, says that Duke University Hospital wanted to keep R. Kelly an extra 7 days. They wanted to perform a medical procedure to address his blood clots. Within an hour after deciding that he needs to stay there for an extra week, Art, he says prison police bust into the room armed with AR-15 rifles, Art. They came into the hospital with AR-15 rifles and took R. Kelly back to the jail and gave no explanation at all to the doctors. R. Kelly is in solitary confinement right now with blood clots in both legs and in his lungs, and the prison police would not allow him to remain at the hospital any longer to get the help that he needed. They want him dead, Art. Then check this out. Before the overdose incident, Bo Brinkley learned from R. Kelly that he was approached by a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. And this member of the Aryan Brotherhood, who allegedly struggles with terminal cancer, was offered a contract for freedom if he would unalive R. Kelly. He would be released from prison and he would spend whatever time left he has in life on the outside with his family. He couldn't do it, Art. He couldn't do it, so he approached R. Kelly and said, they came to me with this offer to take you out. He said, I didn't accept it, but they will be passing this on to somebody else, whether it's in my gang, whether it's in another gang. Somebody in this prison is going to be paid to take you out of here. Now, why do they want R. Kelly unalived? According to his attorney, Bo Brinkley, the U.S. attorneys, the Department of Justice, and the Bureau of Federal Prisons engaged in criminal behavior, Art, during the investigation of R. Kelly's 2021 conviction in New York for sex trafficking and R. Kelly's 2022 conviction in Chicago for child pornography. His lawyer claims, he alleges, that the government engaged in criminal corruption and conspiracy during the investigation to make sure R. Kelly would go to jail. He says that if he and his client are given an opportunity to expose the criminal behavior of the U.S. Attorney's Office, R. Kelly's conviction will be overturned and he will go free. This is what his lawyer alleges, Art. However, the music industry cannot let R. Kelly go free. Why? Because they don't want R. Kelly to expose them, and they don't want R. Kelly to regain control over his music. What does R. Kelly, Prince, and Tupac Shakur have in common? Not only were two of them murdered partially by the music industry, and a third, God forbid, is right now having his life attempted on by the music industry in collaboration with the government, and there's really no separation there because white power is white power. But what they have in common, Art, these are three artists who are known to have as much unpublished music as they had published music. Are you following me? Tupac's death was partly desired because they had so much money they still stood to make off of Tupac's unreleased music. Prince's death was partially desired because they had so much unpublished music that they could steal from Prince. And R. Kelly, same thing. R. Kelly, like Prince and Tupac, was a workaholic. He has all kinds of unpublished material. And what did R. Kelly lawyer assert back in 2022, Art? When he first went to jail, right before or right after his New York conviction, and right after his Chicago conviction. In 2022, R. Kelly told the media through his lawyer that hundreds of his master recordings, Art, for his unreleased music were stolen from his home and studio. Let me say that again. In 2022, right around the time he's convicted and sentenced, R. Kelly finds out that hundreds of his unreleased master recordings were stolen from his home and studio. And then what do we find, Art? That some of R. Kelly's music was found on some of the major streaming platforms without his submission and without his permission. How in the hell did the streaming platforms get music from R. Kelly that he never gave them? And then what else happened in 2022, Art? An album that R. Kelly didn't even create, called I Admit, was released in 2022, and it was quickly pulled from the shelf, and Sony Records, which is the parent company of RCA, who picked up R. Kelly after he was dropped from Jive, claimed no responsibility for the mysterious release of the I Admit album in 2022 while R. Kelly was in jail. We also know that before R. Kelly got convicted, he was in a tug of war with his parent company, Art, for not being properly compensated for his music. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I'm telling you, brother, this sounds just like Prince. What happened with Prince? In 2014, Prince gets his master recordings back. He'd been fighting for his master recordings for years. And then all of a sudden, he gets his master recordings back in 2014, Art, and he's dead by 2016. They trying to take R. Kelly out because they do not want to give him his music back. They've already stolen too much of it. They already owe him money that they never paid him. They don't want him to expose the music industry, and they don't want to get sued by R. Kelly. This takes me to Angie Stone. The Angie Stone R. Kelly situation are very similar. What did Angie Stone say in December 2024? Angie Stone did a live where she said her parent company owed her royalties that they had not paid her. She said they owed her multiple millions of dollars. And she said she was going to get her money and expose the label. I'm going to get my money and I'm going to expose the label. And then that was in December 2024. February 28th, Art, Black History Month, final day. She's performing in Alabama. March the 1st, she's driving with her entourage to the next destination. And all of a sudden, they get into an accident. And the media reports that Angie Stone dies in a car accident. And she's the only member of her entourage who dies in the car accident. And then we find out, Art, that she didn't die in the car accident. A snow bunny helped her out of the car. Because Angie Stone was discombobulated, according to the woman who helped her out, she told her to sit on the side of the road. Look at this, Art. Sit on the side of the road. As soon as she tells Angie Stone to sit on the side of the road, A 18-wheeler crosses the median on the highway, Art. A 18-wheeler crosses the median on the highway and runs Angie Stone over, killing her and nobody else. Help me understand, Art, what are the chances that you get into a car accident, you climb out? So the first attempt was unsuccessful, Art. The first attempt was unsuccessful. She was supposed to be unalived in that accident. She climbs out. You know how we know that? Because the media had already reported she passed in a car accident, Art. The media had already reported it. So then, and you know the media already gets the news. Okay? When the Honorable Marcus Garvey died in England, Art, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, father of modern Pan-Africanism, greatest organizer of all time of any race. The newspaper reported he was deceased before he was deceased, which is why some people believe that Mr. Garvey was poisoned, and that's why he died on June 10th, 1940. I'm just drawing a parallel here. The media reported that Angie Stone died in a car accident, but she wasn't dead. They were told to report that because those who arranged for her murder did not think that the first attempt could go wrong. But you always have backup at that level, Art. So to make sure she didn't get out of that situation alive, after she climbed out the car, the totaled car, she sat on the side of the road with the assistance of a Caucasian woman. A 18-wheeler, just so happens, Art, crosses the median and runs our sister over, taking her life and nobody else's. That is not a coincidence. R. Kelly is in the same situation as Angie Stone. The only difference between Angie Stone and R. Kelly is more popular, has more music, and is owed more money. Angie Stone was free as you can be in a racist society. R. Kelly is trapped in solitary confinement. Look at Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez gets stabbed, 14 times? And right before Tory Lanez, and prayers to Tory Lanez, blessings to Tory Lanez, blessings to his family. I see his father is a real strong fighter. Now, let me say this, Art, because when I don't know something, I don't know something. As far as the back and forth going on as to whether or not Tory Lanez pulled the trigger that shot Megan in the toe, whether it was Kelsey, I can't get into that. I don't know enough about that. If I don't know, I don't know. If he's innocent, he needs to be released. If he did it, I still don't think he should have got 10 years because it wasn't an attempt on her life. But that's just me. Anyhow, I'm not going to deal with that part. But I'm going to deal with this part. Is it a coincidence, Art, that days before he gets stabbed up, days before, he submits an appeal to have his case retried? Is that a coincidence? I don't think it is. Also, mind you, Tory Lanez, similar to a Tupac Shakur, not Tupac, but similar. He's in prison, politicizing the inmates, and he's helping them, even paying his own money out of his own pocket, Art, helping them fund their freedom for false convictions and errors made by their attorneys that got them locked up when they shouldn't have been. Because as you know, most cases are plea bargain because we can't afford legal representation. So Tory Lanez is in here helping inmates get their freedom. We know that he was an independent artist. We know the major labels do not like independent artists because being a successful independent artist let other artists know you don't have to go to the majors. That undermines their authority over music. So the major music companies had a vested interest in Tory Lanez being taken out. And the prison system, which means the U.S. government, has a vested interest in Tory Lanez being taken out. Why, Art? Because in California, an inmate is worth $133,000 a year. $133,000 a year. So Tory Lanez helping him get out is undermining the bottom line of the prison system. They don't want him out. Now, he's not back at the same prison. He was transferred to another prison. And of course, we're going to wait and see what his appeal says. I can't speak to Megan. I can't speak to Kelsey. I can't speak to Tory on the conviction because I don't know what happened in that car. But what I do know, what I feel in my heart, his stabbing was not just a case of a prison beef. I believe that came from somewhere else. I absolutely believe that. The timing, Art, doesn't add up. And the fact that he helping them brothers get out, $133,000 a year per inmate, I'm sure the California prison system isn't happy about that. So look at Angie Stone, look at Tory Lanez, and now let's look at R. Kelly. When you put R. Kelly's situation in the context of Angie Stone and Tory Lanez, and he was more successful than them both. Of course, Tory is too young, right? He's still young, up and coming. But R. Kelly is a bigger name, or was a bigger name, than Tory Lanez and Angie Stone put together. So if you can believe that they unalived Angie Stone over music and unpaid royalties, and that they would attempt to take Tory Lanez out of here because they don't want him publishing independent music, then you clearly have to come to the conclusion that R. Kelly is not exaggerating. His attorney is not exaggerating. They are trying to take R. Kelly out of here because he is too much of a risk to the music industry. And they would be better off without him because, as we all know, deceased artists are worth more money. And if they already stole hundreds, R. Kelly's lawyer said they stole hundreds of his master recordings. How many does he have? How much music does R. Kelly have sitting around, Art? Because you know, he got the 30 years from New York, sex trafficking, 20 years from Chicago, child pornography. They run concurrently, right? His earliest release time is 2045. R. Kelly is about 56, 57. So he wouldn't get out at the earliest, Art. At the earliest, he wouldn't get out until he's 77 years old. If he gets out early. If he don't get out early, he ain't coming out till he in his 80s, Art. They need him to stay in prison as long as possible. And that's why his lawyer is having such a difficult time, Art, trying to reopen his case so that the court can look at how the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Bureau of Prisons in the Department of Justice engaged in criminal conduct in investigating the R. Kelly case. If they can prove that, he gets released, Art. The case gets overturned. The music industry cannot afford it. And let me give you this, Art. A lesson to black people, because we had this conversation a couple interviews ago. But to underscore my point that they're using R. Kelly and Sean Combs as a distraction away from white people with similar accusations. When R. Kelly was going through his trial and conviction in 2021 and 2022, Art, guess what else was happening in the world? The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops had put out a call to survivors of Catholic Church sex abuse to file complaints. And in 2021, the same year as R. Kelly's conviction, they reported that they had received over 4,000 complaints from survivors, Art. 4,000 complaints from nearly 4,000 survivors of Roman Catholic child sex abuse. In the same time they report that, R. Kelly gets convicted. France came out in 2021, the country of France, and said they had over 200,000 cases of child sex abuse. 2021, the same year R. Kelly gets convicted. And then Spain came out, and Spain said they had 216,000 child sex abuse cases, Art. Look at that. You're talking about 200,000, 216, that's 416, another 4,000. That's 420,000 cases, Art. 420,000 cases of child sex abuse from the Roman Catholic Church being reported, and all of a sudden R. Kelly goes to trial, gets convicted, and goes to jail. And to help distract the public from what was going on in the Roman Catholic Church, what did they do on January 3rd, 2019, Art? They dropped Surviving R. Kelly. Remember that? They dropped Surviving R. Kelly to make sure they had your attention so nobody could focus on the travesty unfolding in the Roman Catholic Church. And then what did they do again in 2020, Art? They dropped Surviving R. Kelly a second time. Part 2. January of 19, Part 1. January of 20, Part 2. R. Kelly convicted in New York, 2021. R. Kelly convicted in Chicago, 2022, Art. And guess what? That's why that black cardinal of the Roman Catholic Church, Art, was not voted the next pope of the Roman Catholic Church. His name is Cardinal Robert Sarah. He's from Guinea in West Africa. You probably seen him. Do you know who I'm talking about? The black pope that everybody said should have been the next pope? Yes, Cardinal Robert Kelly, who lives in Rome, Art. He's the number one ranking, or one of the top ranking, cardinals of the Roman Catholic Church. Although he's from Africa, he's been living in Guinea since 2001, Art. 24 years. He lives right there. And guess what? They don't give him the Pope job. Instead, they come all the way to Chicago. They come all the way to Chicago and they choose their first American Pope who has a history of doing what, Art? Covering up child sex crimes in the Roman Catholic Church. Allegedly. It was reported, allegedly, that the new Pope has a history of covering up child sex crimes. You know why they didn't give Cardinal Robert Sarah that popeship, Art? He would have cleaned house. He would have cleaned house. Anybody who was guilty of touching children, he was going to strip them of their rank and put them out the church. Not just take their title. You're out of the church. They couldn't let that black man. He probably would have made the Roman Catholic Church pay reparations for slavery. He probably would have gave Africa back all the artifacts that they stole. They couldn't let, you will never get a black bishop. You will never get a black pope, Art. They cannot allow, even though the first popes in history were black. The first ones were black, but you'll never get any more black ones. They can't afford for the corruption of the Roman Catholic Church to be exposed. R. Kelly was a mule for the media to distract the world away from the Roman Catholic Church child sex abuse scandal. Do you know what they can do with his music, Art? I want to know how many unreleased master recordings he got. Because if he said they stole hundreds, at least, I think it was at least 100 of them, Art, at least 100. How much music you got, bro? How much music? And then for an album to come out, Art, in 2022, I admit, with music he never released, and then his songs is playing on the streams, and then before he gets convicted, he's fighting y'all because y'all not paying him what he's due, and y'all not trying to give him his masters. And here's the thing, Art, just like Tory Lanez, check this out. Tory Lanez is an independent artist. Well, guess what, Art? In 2019, when Surviving R. Kelly comes out, RCA Sony drops R. Kelly. You know what that means? R. Kelly is an independent artist. R. Kelly is an independent artist. They can't afford for him to get out and produce his own music and sue them for all the back money and back masters recordings that he's owed. R. Kelly right now is in the same position as Prince and Michael Jackson. More appropriately, Prince. He's in the same position as Prince right now. You're worth more to us unalived than alive. And I hope that he survives this. Whatever crimes he did against children, Artie got to pay for that. He got to pay for that. If you urinated on that child, you stay in jail till you 80. If you ever get out. I'm serious about that. No child should ever be abused. So I'm not saying we letting him off the hook for that. I'm saying his life should not be taken for the benefit of a racist white music industry. That's all I'm saying. Because I believe he has children. He at least has family. He need that money to take care of his family. He got a community in Chicago. He need his money to take care of his Chicago. He can still take care of his business behind prison walls, but he should not be murdered for his music. He was not sentenced to die for his music. And therefore, I separate the two things.
How you feeling about this Diddy trial? It's coming to an end, and next week we should get a verdict. How you feeling about it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My opinion, and I didn't follow Puff case day by day, but I followed it enough. And this is how I look at it. So first of all, the prosecution rested its case yesterday or today. We're looking at 7 weeks of the whole case, 28 days testimony, an hour's worth of sexual footage. 2 sex workers testified, 2 celebrities testified, 7 employees testified, 3 victims testified. When I go back to the original charges, Art, the federal indictment, RICO, racketeering, influence, corrupt organizations charge, interstate sex trafficking, interstate prostitution. This is not a civil case. When we look at Fat Joe, we look at Tyler Perry, we look at Smokey Robinson, those are civil cases. Fat Joe's could get criminal, but I'm going to treat it as civil for now because I don't know what the statute of limitations are. In a civil case, Art, the jury only has to determine whether or not the crimes this person is being accused of were more likely to have happened than not. That's it. Is it more likely that he did this than did not do this? That's civil case. We're talking federal criminal case with Sean Combs. We're talking federal criminal case with Diddy. So the standard is not whether the jury thinks it is more likely that Puffy did these things than not. It's a higher threshold, a higher burden of proof. The jury has to believe, and the prosecution must have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Combs is likely to have committed these offenses. A reasonable doubt, Art says, if a reasonable person is presented with these charges and this evidence, if a reasonable person is presented with these charges and this evidence, would they have a reasonable doubt as to the conviction that you have entered into? Would a reasonable person have a doubt about Sean Combs' innocence? And if a reasonable person would have a doubt about Sean Combs' innocence, you cannot convict. It is a high burden, Art. And in my opinion, I do not believe the prosecution. I do not believe that the United Snakes of America have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Combs engaged in a pattern of RICO. I don't think they proved beyond a reasonable doubt that he participated in interstate sex trafficking. And I don't think they have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Combs have engaged in interstate prostitution. I believe they relied too heavily on freak off details, freak off footage, and freak off testimony. Art, he's not on trial for having freak offs. Sean Combs was on trial and being accused of interstate trafficking of people for sex against their will, forced labor, forced sexual labor. That wasn't proven. Interstate prostitution, they might have did a better job with that than the sex trafficking, Art. But I still don't believe they proved it beyond a reasonable doubt. And the RICO, no way. Look at the RICO case, Art. It basically hung on the testimony of two people, Kid Cudi and the young lady, and no disrespect to either of them. And the RICO basically dealt with the fact that Puff allegedly forced this woman by gunpoint to take him to Kid Cudi's home, and he had made plans to blow up Kid Cudi's home and firebomb his car. The problem, Art, whether that happened or not, you're still only dealing with one person, and the situation sounds very personal. It doesn't sound like it's related to Bad Boy Records. This sounds like it's a personal vendetta between Puff and Kid Cudi. Even if it was related to Bad Boy Records, it's only one person. Where are the other victims of the RICO? Where are the other criminal behaviors that support the RICO charge? For RICO, to my understanding, I'm not an attorney, you got to show a pattern of using your organization to engage in criminal behavior. One or two incidents with Kid Cudi, that does not establish RICO for Bad Boy Records. One alleged attempted arson or two alleged attempted arsons, that doesn't establish a pattern of Bad Boy being used in a racketeering influenced criminal organization way. And that's why, Art, I believe the prosecution slid the judge a letter yesterday or today and told the judge that they will not be including the attempted kidnappings and the attempted arson as part of their RICO case. To me, that's a victory for Puff because it says we know that this is too weak. The jury is not going to convict on this evidence. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this is likely to have happened. They're not going to convict on that. So they told the judge, we're not even going to use that. They are going to rely heavily, Art, on that sex trafficking and that prostitution. I think they know they don't get the RICO. I would be shocked if they get the RICO. They're hanging on sex trafficking. They're hanging on prostitution. And as I've said earlier, I don't think they have much of a case there either. All this case proved, Art, over these 28 days, over these 7 weeks, this case proved that Puffy has some very serious psychosexual issues. This case proved that he might be a nymphomaniac. This case proves that he may have some unaddressed childhood emotional issues that he's taken out on these women and these sex incidents, these freak-offs. It proves that he engages in risky behavior. It proves he got a lot of people that don't like him for whatever reason. It proves he got a lot of girlfriends that didn't feel like they got out of the case what they should have got out of the case. I don't see how. I don't see how he gets convicted on freak-off footage, freak-off details, and freak-off testimony. Now, I'm going to say this. The verdict and the sentence. And the sentence is going to be more important than the verdict, I believe, Art. But the verdict and the sentence in the Diddy case is going to reveal one thing: what the elites feel about Puff and how important he may still be to the entertainment power structure. If he gets convicted and they throw the book at him, that's the elite saying, we're completely done with you and we need you to go away. If he gets a slap on the wrist, and I'm going to define slap on the wrist, Art, for me as any sentence of 10 years down to acquittal. If Puffy gets a sentence of 10 years down to acquittal, I will see that as a victory. And the reason I will see that as a victory, Art, and a sign from the elites that we can still use you, is the sex trafficking case is a minimum of 15 years to life, Art. He can get 15 years to life on the sex trafficking. On the RICO, I don't know what the minimum is, but he can get up to life on the RICO. So the sex trafficking, he can get life, up to life. On the RICO, he can get up to life. On the prostitution charge, he can get 10 years per charge, per count, 10 years per count, and those will run concurrently. As I told you before in our first conversation, I think the only thing they could get him on is the prostitution. I think the only thing they could get him on is the prostitution. So if they get him on the prostitution, Art, no matter how many counts they get him with, let's say they get him with 5 counts of prostitution, they run concurrently. That's 10 years. You don't have to do all your time in the feds. You do not have to do all your time in the feds. He's home in 5 years. I think that's a victory for Puff. For what he was facing, life for RICO, life for sex trafficking, and you walk out with a couple counts of prostitution that carry 10 years of pop, I think that's a victory for Puff. And in my opinion, that's all I can see them hitting them with. That's the good news. The bad news, Art, the bad news is I'm looking at this jury that he has. Puffy had 4 whites, 5 blacks, 2 Hispanics, and an Asian. One of the blacks got dismissed and the judge brought on another white privileged male. So now, if I'm correct, there's 5 whites, 4 blacks, 2 Hispanics and an Asian. 12 people on the jury, they must come up with a unanimous decision. We know, Art, no disrespect to the Mexican people, no disrespect to the Asian people, but when it comes to black people, they ride with white people against us 99% of the time. So those 2 Hispanics, count them as white for purposes of Puffy's case. That 1 Asian, count that person as white for the sake of addition for Puffy's case. So basically, you got 8 whites and 4 blacks. That's the part I don't like, Art. That's the part that I don't like. You got 8 whites, 4 blacks. 5 of the jurors, Art, are above the age of 60, I believe. 5 of them are either above the age of 50 or the age of 60. I think above the age of 60. Only 3 of them are under 40, and most of them are male, which means most of them are white male. I'm concerned because I can see those white men being jealous of Puff. I mean, the man is basically a billionaire living life how he wants. Do they really want to let him out? Not for the sake of community security, but who is this nigga to have done better in life than me and I'm older than him? There's a scientist, somebody with a PhD on that jury. I just don't see the white men in this case looking favorably at Puff for reasons that don't even have anything to do with the charges. We are in America. Them 2 Hispanics, I don't see them helping Puff. The Asian, I damn sure don't see them helping Puff. So My best hope, short of the music industry putting a call into the jury, because you know they do that, they'll contact enough of them jurors, Art, and say, listen, we got a bag for you. This is what you need to do. And if you don't do it, we got a body bag for you. Which one you want, the bag of money or the body bag? So short of that happening, Art, I'm going to have to hope that the 4 remaining blacks are strong enough to stand up for our brother so that this case will result in a hung jury and Puffy goes home. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, the sentence, as I've already talked about, that's a whole nother thing if he gets convicted at all. Then the question becomes, what is the judge going to assign? You know, how much time is the judge going to give Puff? You know, if he does get convicted of RICO, and I can't see it, if he does get convicted of sex trafficking, and I can't see it, how much time is the judge going to give him? I'm concerned about that. Prostitution, not as much concerned because 10 years a pop and you don't have to do your whole time. So I can live with the prostitution. I'm hoping for a hung jury. I'm hoping that them 4 Africans on that jury will stand 10 toes down. Nobody knows who the jury is yet. They kept that completely sealed from us, but I'm hoping them blacks stand 10 toes down and don't let those 5 whites and 3 probationary whites, the 2 Hispanics and the Asian, do our brother in. This is going to come down to them 4 blacks, Art. Bottom line, those 4 Africans on that jury are going to dictate Sean Puffy Combs' destiny.
I gotta ask you, what you think gonna happen, man? What's your prediction?
I can't call it. I can't call it because I'm looking at the fact that the jury is 8, 9 Africans. I don't even know how you get that in New York. There's more than enough black people to be on that jury, Art. I don't know how you get 8 whites, 9 Africans, 5 whites, 2 Hispanics, and an Asian. I don't even see how that. I don't like that. I'm looking at that. And then I'm looking at the elites in the music industry, Art, because again, let us not forget why Puffy is here. Puffy is here because he sued Diageo Liquor and started a black political party that was going to rival the Democrats and the Republicans. That's why he's in jail. These charges were manufactured to justify his imprisonment. He's been in prison since September 2024. In 2 months, it'll be September 2025. So remember, they denied his bail twice. You know, so he ain't in there for these crimes. He's in there because he challenged white power. The question is Diageo and their American affiliates, are they comfortable with having him humiliated? Do they feel like Sean Combs learned his lesson? He will go back to society, never to challenge white power again? Because let me tell you what he did right, Art. This is what Puff did right. Puffy did not pull a Jeffrey Epstein. What do I mean by that? When Jeffrey Epstein found out he might go to jail for the rest of his life, what did he say? I'm telling on everybody. Jeffrey Epstein said, I'm not going down by myself, and that's why they had him executed and called it a suicide. He didn't take his life, they took his life. Puffy didn't do that. Puffy was a gangster. This whole 10 months, Art. Puffy never once said, never once, not through his children, not through his lawyer. Puffy never once said, y'all taking me down for this when everybody do this? Y'all taking me down for this when everybody do this? So guess what I'm going to do? If I get convicted, I'm telling everything that I know. Remember what R. Kelly lawyer said. R. Kelly lawyer said, if Puffy testifies, he will take down half of the music industry. And I would say if Sean Puffy Combs testifies, he would take down half of the entire entertainment industry, music, movies, and everything, because that's how well placed he is, and he's been in this thing too long. R. Kelly lawyer said Puffy will bring down half the music industry if he testifies. That's why he's not getting on that stand, Art. Of course, they don't want to open him up to further scrutiny either, because remember, Puffy's defense team is arguing that the prosecution did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that our client engaged in these three crimes. They are confident. They are fairly certain that the prosecution did not do its job. And guess what, Art? I'm fairly certain that the prosecution did not do their job either. I think most of America is fairly certain that the prosecution did not do their job. And the fact that Puffy refused to expose anybody, the fact that he sat there quiet like a G and didn't snitch on nobody else, unlike Jeffrey Epstein, I think Puff might walk or get a slap on the arm because he didn't expose nobody, Art. Puff didn't expose nobody, and he said, I'm not taking a stand. So he letting the music elites, he's letting the Illuminati know, even though I'm going through this, even though y'all doing me wrong, I'm not no snitch. That's gangster, Art. That's gangster. So if he still go down hard with a heavy sentence, if he gets convicted of all three charges, especially that RICO and that prostitution, and he get hit with a heavy sentence, then that's Diageo and that's the music's elite saying, you know what, you too sloppy. You bringing too much attention to the rest of us. We can't have it. You too sloppy. We got to cancel you. So I believe the verdict is going to tell us who Puffy still is or is not to the music industry elites. In the sentence, even more so, if he's not acquitted, that's going to tell us directly what his future is with the music establishment. Has Puffy been canceled by the music industry elite? This case is going to tell us that. And I'm going to tell you this, Art. Don't be surprised if we found out later that the government and the music industry elites deliberately told the prosecution to hold off on their evidence. There's a chance, Art, that they had way more evidence than what we saw. But when they found out that Puffy wasn't going to expose them, they might have said, hold on. He taking this like a G. He ain't said nothing to nobody yet. And they may reward him. They could have already rewarded him by telling the prosecution, you're not going to bring this up. You're not going to bring this up. This evidence will not be entered. This evidence will be lost. This evidence will be destroyed. We don't know, Art, but Puffy could have already been saved by the power structure, and we don't even know it yet. Because for what they presented as evidence, that was 28 days of nonsense. That was a complete waste of taxpayer money. Complete waste. Now, if we flip back, Art, to R. Kelly, you know what I believe? I believe both of R. Kelly's convictions, were engineered by the music industry. Because there's people out there, Art, who are saying R. Kelly should have never been given 30 years for the child sex trafficking charge based on the evidence they had. He didn't have to get 30. Some people say R. Kelly should have got no more than 10 or 15. How the hell did he get 30? The child pornography, 20. They understand that. But the 30 on sex trafficking for the evidence that they had on R. Kelly, a lot of people saying that was the music industry. The music industry knew what R. Kelly was doing. They knew it. They know what everybody's doing because they got their own secret FBI, their own secret, surveillance and investigation. They knew what R. Kelly was doing, and they simply kept a record of it in case they ever needed to use it against him. And when he started fighting them back for his money and his masters, they decided to roll out the evidence. In other words, R. Kelly and Puff case are in reverse. R. Kelly got convicted because he would not play ball. Puffy might walk or get a slap on the hand because he is playing ball. I hope he go free. I hope he beat his case. I hope Tyler Perry beat his case. I hope Smokey beat his. I hope Shannon Sharp beat his. Everybody being brought up on these cases. Fat Joe, if he's innocent of the child sex trafficking, I hope he beat his case. But if Terrence is telling the truth about the role he played in Fat Joe's success, I think he is entitled to some sort of remuneration. I believe he's entitled to some form of cooperation. I want justice for everybody across the board, however it comes.
So hypothetically speaking, if he is free, I mean, at this point, his name dirt. So what you think he should do at this point if he is free?
I believe he could pick up where he left off because it's the music industry, Art. See, it's not like he was a preacher. It's not like he was a scholar. It's not like he was a television personality. Like the music industry has some of the strangest celebrities in it. You know what I mean? Like you actually do better being a freak. In it, like they want eccentricities, they want weirdos, they want eccentrics. They like I don't think Puffy could have been in a better industry for what he's being charged with. And you know what? This is gonna sound crazy, Art. But people are so freaked out today in America. Every color, every race, every coat. They so freaked out that I think Puffy would have more people trying to come to his freak offs just to experience a freak off. I'm telling you, I don't think he misses a beat. See, Shannon Sharpe is a little different because Shannon Sharpe had a contract with Disney through ESPN, Art. You feel me? That's a little different. You're a mainstream personality on a mainstream talk show owned by a corporation that puts out content friendly to children, and you was dating a 19-year-old OnlyFans model. That's a whole lot different than being a musician. It's not going to hurt Shannon Sharpe in the podcast industry. Shannon good with podcasts. They can't touch you. Shannon going to eat for the rest of it. Shannon is good. It's just his reputation. And you know, celebrities like access to white space. So there's certain invitations Shannon may not get no more because of the accusation. There's certain invitations Tyler Perry and Smokey Robinson may not get no more. That Fat Joe may not get no more because of the accusations, right? But Puffy, he still got money. He's still one of the kings of New York. He still got connections. And legally, he can still have his freak offs. I'm going to be honest with you, Art. He only been away for a year. I'm going to tell you who got the worry more than Puff. No disrespect to nobody. But all the folks, and I'm not saying they wrong, because I don't know the story, I wasn't there. But all the folks all up in the media, all through the news, who was banking on Puff going down, if that man walk the way y'all did his name, wow. Wow. To me, they got more to worry about than Puff. And I don't mean violence or nothing like that. And I don't think Puff will move like that because he gonna have a spotlight on him for the rest of his life. Now, from that perspective, Art, Puff is going to have to undergo a serious lifestyle change. Because if you end up back there again, you're done. If he end up back there again, Art, he's done. So Puffy, and he's had a lot of time to think about this, and this is where his incarceration could have had a benefit. I don't think he ever should have been arrested. I think he should have got his bail. But this is where, when you're forced to sit down, Art, and I was never incarcerated before, right? I did go to a residential high school. That's not incarceration, but it is time away from home, right? Surrounded by all white folks except your peers. You get a lot of time to process your life, man. And Puffy had time to detox. He had time to overcome his sexual addiction. You feel me? Like Puffy had time to purge himself of his lust these 10 months, Art. So if I'm Puff, I'm going to come out. I'm going to get some serious therapy because I think he got some unresolved issues from childhood. I believe that Puffy's dependence on these freak offs to distract him from his pain grew out of some unresolved traumas. I absolutely believe that. If he want to talk to me as a life coach, I'm here. If he want to get a therapist in New York City, Puffy needs a therapist to help guide him through for the next few years, Art, until he reinvents himself. He could still be Puff, but he can't still be Diddy. You feel me? He could still be Puff, but he can't still be Diddy. So the toughest thing for him if he walks art is reinventing himself. But after 10 years and seeing what his children had to go through, and I know he loves his kids. He's a damn good father, man. Damn good father. I think that might have got to him, Art. And I think Puffy is like, you know what? I'm going to come out here and get my revenge the right way. I'm going to find me a queen or two or three or four. Hopefully they black women. Okay? And I'm going to sit my ass down. If I need a freak off, it's going to be with my 4 wives. You know, my 4 community queens, whatever it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm just hoping he learned his lesson. Because Puffy got a lot to give, man. He got a lot to give. And he care about his people, Art. He the only billionaire I know who talk about taking up for black people on a regular basis. Now, I appreciated Tyler Perry saying he's made more black millionaires than all the other Hollywood studios combined. I appreciate that, but that ain't the same as starting a black political party. You know what I mean? That ain't the same. Like Puffy is the most conscious of all the billionaires. And so he got a lot to give, man. So I'm expecting nothing but good things from the brother, to be honest, man, because if he come out doing the same art, he'll be canceled. He'll be canceled. And the feds will get him again. They'll get him again. You know what I mean? So if he walks, man, I think he's gonna do right this time, bro. I think Puff gonna come. Puff might come out and build a Black Wall Street or something, bro. You know what I mean? Because if he do that, he cleans his image up, Art. Because guess what? No children was involved. Did you hear anything about underage kids? I don't think I did.
Nope, not at all.
No underage kids. He ain't got no underage kid thing on him. It was all adults. And from what most of us saw, we would argue consenting. So I think Puff good. I think Puff good. Again, how does the music industry want to play this? That's what it comes down to. How does the government want to play this? Is Diageo done humiliating Puff? Or do they want to go in deeper? I think Puffy gets a pass because he didn't snitch. He did not pull a Jeffrey Epstein. And I think that's going to come out big for him.
We're going to see. How you feel about Israel and Iran situation?
The Middle East crisis. Israel been wanting to bomb Iran for the longest. Benjamin Netanyahu been talking about Iran trying to develop a nuclear weapon for the past almost 20 years now. You know, I think that Israel just wants to be the giant of the Middle East. I think they have an arrogance and a narcissism about themselves that although they were given land that didn't belong to them, I think they believe that in their mind, they see themselves as the chosen people. And in their mind, I think they believe they have the right to treat other people any kind of way that they want. I absolutely believe that. Now, Donald Trump with this ceasefire, we don't know how long this is going to hold because you know that there's been other ceasefires in the Middle East that did not hold. You know, I was not surprised that the United States attacked Israel. I'm not surprised Donald Trump did it because, Art, if you really understood the extent to which this country is dependent upon, owned by, controlled through, or have been infiltrated by Israeli interests, it'll blow your mind. So much of the infrastructure of this country, Art, so much of the infrastructure of this country is owned by the untouchables. I mean, in the music industry, look at who some of the top people are. Hollywood, look at who some of the top people are. Let's go into the publishing industry. Look at who some of the top people are. Let's go into the banking industry. Look at who some of the top people are. Let's go to our elected officials. Look at who some of the top people are. Let's go into the universities. Look at who some of the top people are. Israel is not America's little brother. America is Israel's little brother. Art, if this country ever not do what Israel wants them to do, they could sabotage the infrastructure of this country economically. They could sabotage the infrastructure of this country socially, educationally, politically. Bro, bro, America, you think it's a coincidence that nearly every president in modern history had to pledge loyalty to Israel? You think it's a coincidence that nearly every president in modern history had to put on the cap that they wear? That's a ritual, bro. Nearly everyone puts the cap on and goes through a ritual. You see it on TV, they play it on the news. Is that a coincidence that everybody who wins the presidency has to put on the cap? Bro, the Federal Reserve is a composite of 12 or 13 smaller banks. Do your research on who owns those 12 to 13 smaller banks that comprise the Federal Reserve, which is a privately owned bank that is not owned by the U.S. government, and you'll see why Donald Trump does whatever the hell Israel tell him to do. So I think this woke a lot of people up because, Donald Trump comes off as the alpha male, right? I do what I want. Don't nobody tell me what to do. Nah, they made you do that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, Art, over the next couple years because world opinion is growing against Israel. I don't think I've ever seen this many Americans speak out against Israel like this. I don't think I've seen this many people around the world speak out against Israel like this. And of course, China and Russia are allies to Iran. And so if this thing goes much further, you're looking at World War III easily. You're looking at World War III easily. And don't take that to mean that I don't think they want it because, as I've said before, in order for the New World Order to manifest itself, Art, sovereignty must be destroyed. They don't want sovereign countries. They want every country dependent on the global elite. So they need America to become weak. They need Israel to become weak. They need Iran to become weak. So the globalists can come in and dictate everything and create one monetary system, one prison system, one education system, one surveillance system. That's the goal, Art. A one world government dominated by white supremacy. That's the goal. So whether it happens now, Art, or 30 years from now, there will be a global meltdown. It's the only way the New World Order can come into existence. Now, I'll tell you who's holding up the New World Order. China, India, and Russia. They're holding up the New World Order because they're too strong for the white man to destabilize them. If China was weak, if Russia was weak, and if India was weak, World War III might already be in effect right now. But from the globalist perspective, Art, what is the purpose of starting a war right now for global domination when three of the biggest countries, most powerful countries, and two of the most populated countries ain't on board with us? It doesn't make sense to do it unless you think you can beat China and Russia together. I don't think America and Britain and France can beat China. I'm just going to be honest with you. And I'm no Chinese supporter. They just as racist as the white man. But I don't think the Allies can beat China. Remember, they barely beat Hitler. Okay? I don't know if they can take out China. So I just think they tested it and they pulled back, Art, and said, now is not the time.
I want to ask you, how you feel about ICE deporting people?
I think it's sad that people are being stripped away from their families, places where they made their home. I will never support hurt or harm against another race. At the same time, I will not be joining the effort against the immigration. And the reason I don't work against the efforts against immigration. So for the black people who are out there protesting to help the Latinos in California stay. I have no problem with them doing that if that's what they want to do. I'm not doing that because I know how racist Mexicans are against black people. I know how poorly they treat us in California. I'm over there often enough. I cannot help a racist who doesn't care about me. I'm not going to do that. Okay. I believe that we need to fight for ourselves and stop fighting for everybody else, Art. I don't like the fact that every race considers black people their de facto advocates and protesters. I don't like that. People automatically assume that African people, this is global, Art, this is not just America, this is global. People automatically assume that African people are supposed to rush in the defense of other groups. I don't like that. When I didn't rush in defense of Gaza, although I said that I don't want to see anybody hurt, I don't want to see nobody murdered, I don't like the fact that Israel cut off their food, their water. That's wrong, and I don't support it. But I won't be giving any energy to the effort because there's African people hurting across this world. And charity begins at home. So until Haiti is free, I can't cry for Gaza. Until Congo and those child laborers in the Congo who are dying, I can't cry for Gaza. Okay? Until the genocide in Ethiopia is over. Until the humanitarian crisis in Somalia and Sudan is over. Until my brothers and sisters in South Africa have repossessed themselves of their land and their resources, I can't cry for Gaza. If somebody asks me, I'm going to tell the truth. Those people are being done wrong. They're being genocided. They're being mistreated, and it is wrong. I have no problem saying that. I will always speak truth to power, no matter who's involved. But to ask me to go protest for another group who practices racism against Africans right there in the Middle East, I'm not going to do that. Go to California and protest another group. Help another group who practice racism against black people in California. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to work against the Mexican people. I'm going to work against the Arabs, the East Indians, the Chinese. I'm not working against no people because I know what my people have been through. But I cannot come to your aid until all African people are free. It bothers me, Art, to see so many black people running around with Palestine flags. It bothers me, Art, to see so many black people running around talking about we got to stop the immigration crisis. I've never seen you with the Haitian flag yet. I've never seen you with the South Sudanese flag yet. I've never seen you with the Congolese flag yet. I haven't seen you with the Somalia flag or the Ethiopia flag, but you all over the social media with the Palestinian flag. No Haiti, even in Africa, Art. Our brothers and sisters in Africa with the Palestinian flag, Palestinian Solidarity March. What about the Haitian Solidarity March? What about the Congolese Solidarity March? What about the Sudanese and the Ethiopian and the Somalian Solidarity March? We would rather cry for other people than cry for ourselves. I will not support it.
Juneteenth. How you feel about Juneteenth? I never got your opinion on that.
Juneteenth has been completely hijacked and stripped of its value. Some people thought Donald Trump was going to sign an executive order to get rid of Juneteenth. He can't. Only an act of Congress can undo a federal holiday. So that's why Donald Trump, he would have if he could have. He couldn't touch it. Okay? Ever since Joe Biden federalized Juneteenth in 2021, he has killed the energy. He has killed the sacredness of it. He has killed the value of Juneteenth. He has mainstreamed it. And Juneteenth it's a mockery of our ancestors. I hurt for my ancestors because Juneteenth was not supposed to be this multicultural event that it has become, Art. It was never this whitewashed before. People were sending me pictures of Juneteenth with all white folks. Juneteenth events with all white folks. I've seen Juneteenth events completely colonized by the LGBT community. How do you turn this into a sexual rights celebration? This is for the freedom of African people. Some people turn Juneteenth into an immigrants' rights thing. Juneteenth is for black people. It's not for the gays. It's not for the immigrants. It's not for the Caucasians. But a lot of this is our fault, Art, because here's what you need to understand about us. Here's what you got to understand about black people. And you can't really properly understand any challenge we have as a group without understanding this psychological unmet need from our American history. It permeates and violates everything positive and progressive that we try to do. Most African people are in pursuit of white validation, white imitation, and white proximation. And what that means is we want to be near white people all the time. We want to be approved and validated by white people all the time. And we want to copy and imitate white people all the time. Validation, imitation, and proximation. And that is why, Art, we can always be infiltrated. It's why we bunny hop the way that we do. It's why we can't solve a single problem without bringing up the government needs to help us. It's because black people, most of us psychologically are handicapped. Slavery handicapped us. And I'm going to say desegregation handicapped us. In fact, I'm going to say desegregation handicapped us as much as, if not more than slavery, because we were doing all right after slavery. We had our Black Wall Streets. We were catching hell, but we were doing all right. But that desegregation, see the difference, Art, before desegregation, you couldn't participate in white society. You were separate. Even though you caught hell when you stepped outside your community, you owned your community. Desegregation, when white folks said you could come to the white hospital, you don't have to go to the black one. When they said you could move into a white neighborhood, you don't have to stay in the black one. You can send your children to a white private school, not a black one. You can send your child to a white university, not a black one. You can shop at a white store, not a black one. You can come to a white hotel, not a black one. Or our psychological handicap destroyed black infrastructure. Not desegregation, Art, not desegregation, because the government never integrated us. It only desegregated us. What's the difference? When you integrate, you guarantee me participation. This country has never guaranteed us participation. It desegregated. That means what? I'm going to remove the legal barrier. So they removed the legal barrier from you being able to move into the suburb. They removed the legal barrier from you being able to send your child to a white school. They removed the legal barrier that kept you from sleeping in a white hotel. They didn't make you go to the white hotel. They didn't make you go to the white school. They didn't make you marry the white woman. They didn't make you move into the white neighborhood. You see that? We volunteered for segregation. I want to be clear about this, Art. The government desegregated. We chose to integrate. You see the difference? All the government says, no more laws that keep you out. That's all the government did. There's no more laws that keep you out. Desegregation. We're going to get rid of the laws and the barriers to access. Black people were the ones who integrated. We forced ourselves onto white folks. And then we blamed Dr. King, even though desegregation didn't even come until after Dr. King was in the grave, after the FBI assassinated him. And I ask black people all the time, did Dr. King make you marry a white girl? Did Dr. King make you send your child to a white college? Did Dr. King make you work for a white university instead of a black one? Come on, these are not Dr. King's decisions. These are your decisions. And so until we deal with that stain of inferiority, because we have it, Art. We have it. I don't care if you Afrocentric. I don't care if you got an African name. I don't care if you a Hebrew Moor, Nation of Islam, the Wapian, God and Earth, Pan-Africanist, Garveyite, all of us have been impacted by the collective unconsciousness and the inferiority that has been placed in it through 20 centuries of conditioning through slavery. None of us have not been impacted. You may no longer be influenced by it if you've done the necessary internal work to liberate yourself psychologically, but no black person can say that they were not impacted. We got light skin supremacy, dark skin supremacy. We are impacted by it. All 9 of the black Greek fraternities and sororities at one time or another practiced light skin supremacy. You couldn't get in if you wasn't a certain complexion. All of us have been impacted by the stain of racism. And until we liberate ourselves, what did Bob Marley say? And he was a bunny hopper, but I like Bob. None but ourselves can free our minds. Marcus Garvey said, free the minds of men, and you ultimately liberate the bodies of men. Only we can free our minds. But let us not mistake that American society for the black person is a constant reminder of how unimportant you are. And if we want to help our children be confident about being African, we have to build a society that values them as the central participant and not as a marginal actor. As long as we're dependent on white people and their institutions, our children will always have self-esteem problems. That's why I'm such a stickler and advocate for independent black institutions so we can build independent black systems and independent black communities.
From your point of view, why do you think black relationships is failing?
Black romance is failing is because too many Africans are using romance as a escape. We're using dating as a symptom reliever. We're dating to distract ourselves from our problems. We're dating because we're running away from ourselves. So we're looking for somebody to keep us psychologically occupied from our problems. And because that's impossible to do over a long period of time, after 1 or 2 years into the relationship, problems start to manifest. And these problems are, I would argue, are not relationship problems. They are individual problems that you brought into the relationship. So the problem is not because the two of y'all got together. The problem is the two of y'all got together before you rectified your own internal issues. See, I'm going to date a woman, Art, because there's things I need from her. But I'm not interested in reciprocating. And I'm not speaking of me per se. I'm using me as an, a hypothetical. I don't care what she needs. I don't care what her wants and desires and dreams and ambitions. You are here to serve me. And here's the thing, Art. If you're going to be in a transactional relationship with benefits, so be it. Let that be said. That's what Tyler Perry allegedly wanted with Derek Dixon. Tyler Perry said, listen, I want a smash partner. I'm going to take care of him. I want him to be quiet. And I don't want no emotion. That's what a lot of us want. But we don't tell the other person that this is transactional. We tell them that this is philosophical and emotional and romantic. And then they get into the relationship and they realize I'm only here for sex. I'm only here to accompany you to your important events. I'm only here to have children. I'm only here to run your businesses. Nothing in this arrangement is about me. This is why black men get angry at black women. They say, wait a minute, I thought we was going to build a relationship. You're just using me to pay your bills. Black women are saying, I thought we were going to be in a relationship. You're just using me for sex. If this is a transactional business arrangement, say that. Nothing wrong with that if that's what y'all want. It's not going to hold you over forever because as African people, the spiritual people that we are, you can't be in a transactional relationship forever. It might be a stage in your life. It might be a phase in your life, but it can't be forever. You're going to want something more. But the reason we're not honest with each other, Art, is we only care about ourselves. You can't be a narcissist and have a healthy relationship. We have too many male narcissists. We have too many female narcissists. We think we're more important than the other person. We think they should understand us, but we don't need to understand them. We believe that they should worship us instead of treating us as an equal. And it's destroying the relationship because nobody wants to practice empathy, compassion, patience, and forgiveness. If you're not ready to practice empathy, compassion, patience, and forgiveness, you shouldn't be dating because you're not going to agree all the time. Your partner is not going to be nice to you all the time. You have to be able to endure their pain, endure their disrespect occasionally, endure the barriers they put up to emotional access long enough for you to get at the reason why they're going through what they're going through. At the end of the day, Art, everybody's dating used goods and everybody's dating damaged personalities. All of us have dated before. All of us have trauma and baggage from past relationships. So when you're in the dating game, you're literally in a psycho-emotional thrift shop. You're in a thrift shop. The problem is when you see that sister, when the sister see a brother, they see somebody who look new, they look fresh, they look good, because you never seen them before. And so you so overwhelmed by the sensory experience of this person that you ain't conscious of the fact. They got baby daddy trauma. This one been raped. This one been molested. This one came out of jail. This one was abandoned by his father. This one was abused by his mother. You don't see the baggage, but all of us are used goods. You got to find you someone whose baggage is complementary to yours. That's what it comes down to. Stop using people. If you don't have the capacity to love, you shouldn't be dating. Too many traumatized Africans out here, Art. Too many trauma. You know you don't have the capacity to let somebody love you. You know you ain't got the capacity to love. You too guarded. So why are you playing games with the other person? Because you selfish and you don't care about nobody but yourself. Get rid of narcissism. Get rid of narcissism. And you probably increase the longevity of romantic black relationships by 10 years, at least 10 years. If you could get rid of the narcissism and everything that comes with that, the selfishness, the inability to forgive, the inability to love, all of that, you get rid of narcissism and we would be doing much better as a people. The bottom line is we don't like to collaborate. The only time we like to collaborate is in the bedroom. And if that's the only place you want to collaborate, go pay for a prostitute. Stop damaging people who could have otherwise been better served by another person. Bob Marley said, one of the worst things a man can do is prepare a woman to open up and love you when you have no intention of loving her back. Too many black men are doing that, and we need to stop. And then we get in these relationships and we tell our women, you're not letting me lead. We tell our women, you're not submitting to us. She can't. You have to earn that. She should not until you earn that. For a black woman to drop her guard and give a black man an honest opportunity, Art, if he fails her, she's been re-traumatized again. Her pain body has been re-provoked again. Now she has to build up that armor again, and it's going to be 5 times harder for her to take that armor off when she meets the next man. And the next man might have been the right man, but because of your ass and what you did to her, you might have cost her her soulmate because of the trauma you brought to her. Black men deserve to be treated like kings. We do. And we do get treated wrong sometimes by our queens, Art. But we need to understand what we put them through. And we don't. We are not compassionate enough to our women. We should understand that it's going to take time for her to trust you because of all she's been through at the hands of other black men. We're blaming the women, Art, when we should be blaming the men who put them through the sex abuse and put them through the abandonment and put them through the family drama that they've been through. We never blame the men that caused the sisters their problems. We just blame the women, which makes us disingenuous. Let's be honest about the situation.
So you think the men should own up to it and take most of the blame?
No. I'm saying that we want to be kings and we want to be treated like kings. That comes with responsibility. You don't walk up to a woman who you know been traumatized by other men and say, drop your guard and submit to me before I've proven myself. Now, if you've proven yourself, Art, you got a leg to stand on. You got a leg to stand on. But I'm seeing brothers who have not shown women that I will hold you down, that I'm responsible enough, that I'm committed enough. They're just showing up, Art. And in their egotistical selfishness, they're saying she's supposed to drop her guard and submit to me before she even know whether or not I'm strong enough to hold her. Come on. Come on. I don't want no princess dropping a guard for no black man until she knows she can trust him. It's too costly. We can pick up and leave whenever we want. She's stuck with the children. If you are who you say you are, Art, this is what I'm saying. If you are who you say you are, why do you have trouble proving it before she gives in to you? Art, if you the man you say you is, submission is coming. If you the man you say you is, respect is coming. Why can't you give her enough time to learn who you are? And why can't you respect her enough and where she's coming from to ask that you prove it first? I see nothing wrong with that. And if you say, Doc, I've already proven it, 3 years into the relationship, I'm still going through this, then you're with the wrong woman. Move on. See, for me, Art, my relationships are going to be part transactional, part romance because of who I am and what I represent. So I'm looking for that transactional. I'm looking for the woman who can hold some of the work down. I'm looking for the woman who knows how to do some of my business work, who can be a diplomat with other organizations and nations and so forth. I need that transactional part, and that's going to be more than the romance. I'll tell a woman up front, our relationship is going to be mostly business. I need you to know this. It's going to be 60% business, 40% romance. Are you sure you can live with the fact that the business of the race comes first? Because my priority in my life is African people, the black race. That's what I'm worried about. Are you sure you can walk this walk? Because what I get sometimes are, not lately, but I've gotten this. Women want to change me into something I'm not. I'm not a regular 9 to 5 brother. I don't come home every night in time for dinner. I am an activist, a Pan-Africanist, a revolutionary. You understand? I got obligations to my people, to my ancestors. My life ain't, I'll be in Africa for 30 days. I'll be in London for 30 days. I'll be in Brazil for 30 days. I'll be in the same city with you and might not can't get home. I'm at FDMG Academy. Art, there's been times I've been at the school for 2 weeks straight, literally getting work done 2 weeks straight. So you got to have a wife who understands that I'm not going to see him like that. Coretta Scott King, Betty Shabazz, Anna Douglas, Amy Garvey, Myra Lee Evers, Winnie Mandela. It's a certain kind of life you got to live. So for activists, real activists, not these YouTubian opportunists, but real men of the race, you got to have a real woman that can hold you down when you're doing real work, not just talking and traveling, but building. You got to have a real woman that can hold you down. And vice versa for the queens. And there's nothing worse than a black woman who ends up with a man while she's on her road to consciousness and she ends up with a coon. That's the most painful thing I've seen, Art. When a sister calls me crying and say, Dr. Umar, I used to be on low vibration. Now I'm on high vibration, but my king don't want to grow with me. And I don't want my children to grow up in the house with another man, but my king won't grow with me. Ooh, that's one of the most painful conversations to have with a sister.
Elon Musk. You debated his dad, right?
Yes, yes. I debated Elon Musk's father at the Oxford Union in London, excuse me, in Oxford, England, about an hour from London. We debated a few weeks ago. I enjoyed the experience. Shout out to the princess. First African lady president of the Oxford Union Debating Society in its history. And Oxford Union goes back to the 1800s. So she did a great job. I really enjoyed it. There were three of us on my team, and then Elon Musk, and there was two Africans on his side. I was a little disappointed because I didn't find out I was debating Elon Musk's father until the night before. I found out from the students at Manchester University because I spoke at Manchester University in Manchester, England the night before. They pulled it up on the Instagram and they said, "Are you ready for Elon Musk's dad?" And I said, "What you talking about?" They said, "You debating Elon Musk's dad." I was never sent the flyer, Art. I was never sent the flyer. So it turned out all right. It turned out all right, but I think it would have been even better, much, much better, had I been told who I was debating. Still did all right because, I handle my business no matter what. But if I would have knew who I was going up against, everybody there, all five of the other participants, they knew what they were walking into. I was the only person who didn't. And I think that was intentional. I'm not going to lie to you, brother. I think it was done intentionally. I don't know if I was supposed to stumble, which I didn't. Again, it was a great experience. I'll do it again. But we as African people got to treat each other better. That's what I'm going to say. We as African people got to treat each other better. Continental Africans need to start treating American Africans better. American Africans need to treat continental Africans better. We need to stop all this back and forth. I can honestly say that I am a genuine Pan-Africanist. I treat every African I meet in the world, anywhere I meet them in the world, as my brother or my sister. You can go anywhere in the world and everybody will tell you that. That's the one thing that everybody will agree upon when it comes to Dr. Umar. He do not practice no type of division, chauvinism, sectionalism, tribalism, but I don't always get that back in response. I don't always get that back, even though I'm loved by many of our brothers and sisters around the world. I occasionally run into situations where I'm not given the respect that I should. Just because I'm a Pan-Africanist, that does not make me blind to the tribalisms that other hypocritical Pan-Africanists might practice. But with that being said, I'm looking forward to going to the Democratic Republic of the Congo for the first time. I'm going to help celebrate the 65th independence celebration of the Congo, the heart of Africa, the birth of mankind, the richest piece of land on earth, and of course, the homeland to one of my great Pan-Africanist heroes, the Honorable Patrice Emery Lumumba, who was executed on January the 17th of 1961 on the orders of U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower. He was executed with two of his brothers in arms, and their bodies were sliced up into little teeny pieces and dissolved in acid. And the only thing that remained was a tooth, Art. And after all these years, Art, his family just received his tooth back from the Belgian government. And it's no coincidence I'm going over there at this time, Art, because it's just I don't want to release too much of my personal info, but there's so much of my work with Pan-Africanism that is manifesting in this visit to the Congo that I know this is the time. And I have ancestry there, by the way. I have paternal ancestry in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, and Congo. Once I do Congo, the only ancestral country I would not have visited on my paternal side is Cote d'Ivoire. So this is long overdue, man. Long overdue. I want to meet my Congolese relatives. I'm ready for this one right here. Celebrating Patrice Lumumba's 100th birthday. Remember, Malcolm X was very fond of Patrice Lumumba. He spoke of him often. The glasses that Malcolm X wore, Patrice Lumumba wore the same glasses. And then I'll be going to South Africa, the Ethiopian World Federation, is having its conference in South Africa. Okay, that's why I'm wearing the South African flag right now. And we're going to have some fun down there, man. We got an event. I'm going to be speaking in Soweto, Durban, which is not too far from KwaZulu, the Shaka Zulu, the Zulu kingdom. I think we also go to Cape Town. So we're going to fly around. South Africa large. So we're going to be doing some flying around, man. But I miss my South African people. I ain't been to South Africa in 3 years. My last time was 3 years. 2022, I think it was. So long overdue. I like to go there almost every year, man. The Zulu and the Xhosa and the Swazi and the Khoi. I just love Africa, man. Then I got Kenya in January. Looking forward to going to Kenya. I'm going back to Cameroon soon. So, it's just been a blessing, brother. I just want to do what I can do to rebuild our race, stop us from hating on each other, undermining each other, and help us recognize that we don't have nobody but each other, man. Australia, the Caribbean, Central South America. I'm going to Brazil soon for the first time. South Pacific, our Africans in Europe, Canada, Asia, and of course, the American African family in the 50 states and territories. All we got is each other. My mission is to bring us back, man. We are too divided. We got to bring us back. The only threat to white supremacy is complete and global universal African solidarity.
Dr. Umar, man, great interview. Before we end it, man, let the people know what you got going on. And
The biggest thing is we need people to donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Hit your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Mail your check or money orders, P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware. That's P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. Resumes, fdmgresumes@gmail.com. I am launching my own social media. It's going to be probably a couple months, but I'm going to have my own social media platform so I can stay in tune with all my supporters around the world, because the major platforms they keep suspending me, man. I can't take it no more. So I got a brother trying to build something just for me. Hopefully that'll hit us real soon. Got a newsletter coming out, clothing line coming out. I'm going to be doing my Pan-African course of Pan-Africanism for those who want to learn more about Pan-Africanism. That's probably going to be held at FDMG, the John Jacques Dessalines Nat Turner Gymnasium on campus. So much we got to do, so much we're going to do, so much I want to do, but we got to make sure we get that certificate of occupancy first, because there's nothing like having a space art where everybody know you're going to be and you can just bring them there for every event that you want to do. So that's why I need that base of operations, which is the FDMG Academy. So we just work, and I got another group trip to Africa coming up soon. I think we're going to tackle Ghana and Senegal. I keep everybody posted on that in case you want to go with me to Africa. But other than that, just keep me in your prayers. I always make it look a whole lot easier than it actually is. And let's just have a great summer, violence-free summer, Black Unity summer. Shout out to all my Leos. Leo season is coming up soon. Scorpios, I got a Scorpio rising. My Virgos, Virgo cuffs. And my Libras, because I have a Libra moon. Black queens forever. Snow bunnies never. Drop your bunnies. Pick up your sisters. One love.